Welcome back, strangers. Today, we're live with Australian horror narrator Mr. Reality. Today, we're going to be talking about Australia and its many legends, hauntings, and mysteries, along with taking all of your questions. So, it's going to be a good night. I'm glad everyone's here. But yeah, if you're new to our channel, my name's Blake. I am one of the editors / voice of the strangest. It's good to see you guys. And we're a paranormal and unsolved mysteries channel. So, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. If not, then welcome back, strangers.
How's it going? I'm Ethan. I write for The Strangest, come up with the talking points for the stream. And I post things to our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So check us out. If you don't already follow us, do that. And we do live streams every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour early. We kind of pushed it. So usually at 8 p.m. So, and you can also now listen on podcast platforms like iTunes, Google Play, everything. So if you're on that, leave us a review. We post it afterwards, usually the next day, so you don't have to waste your data like watching this later. But welcome, Mr. Reality. How would you introduce yourself and your channel to strangers?
Hello, thanks for having me. I guess I would introduce myself as the small Aussie narrator here on YouTube. Reader of true stories and true crimes in Australia.
I can already tell we're going to get along really well. I don't know why. I think it's just like anyone from Australia has got to be a cool person.
I appreciate that.
We're glad to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night, guys. Thanks everyone for coming. I'll catch up on the chat a little bit. Hey, Kenneth. Hey there. After Dark, it's very good to see you. Hadn't seen you in a little bit. Gene, it's not Gene, is it? Is it Gene? I don't know. I know I messed it up one time. Yeah, good to see you. Linda, Jersey, good to see you. She said she needs coffee. Well, we don't need coffee. We're drinking alcohol, but apparently Reality has got some coffee going on. For those who don't know, Mr. Reality is 12 hours ahead of where we are. So it's 7 p.m. for us and 7 a.m. for him. So keep him awake.
Yeah.
Wake him up, rather.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, Amy Spooky, good to see you. Yeah, Six Toppy, Buffy Reed, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, so welcome to the live stream.
Yeah, Six Toppy asked if you could get the podcast on Spotify for free. You can just open up Spotify and type in The Strangest in the search and we should pop up.
Speaking of Spotify, yeah. I'm just going to say, like, recently I had a credit scare and I had to switch cards. And because of that, my Spotify, it discontinued the premium membership. Normal Spotify sucks. Like, if you have Spotify, go get premium Spotify. It's so bad. Like, you can only skip like 6 songs an hour. And I'm like ADD with songs. It was a bad time. I was on the road all day today, and I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But yeah, we are on Spotify if you guys want to check us out. So
yeah, so we post those after. But we were inspired to do this live stream by the Mr. Ramsey stream we had. There are 2 favorite narrators under 1,000 right now, so definitely check them out if you haven't already. But let's be honest, which is better, Australia or Scotland?
Australia.
Oh, man.
Australia. Come on, man.
If I had to go to one or the other, it'd be Australia. Australia is on my list, despite all of the terrible things that are trying to kill people there. Apparently, here you guys have a spider problem, snakes, stuff like that, and I still would rather go to Australia. Now here's the thing: I really like Scotland, Ireland, all that stuff. I think it'd be beautiful, but I think Australia would be a better time. I feel like there'd be more to do. I hear they have good shrimp.
It's prawns, mate. It's prawns. We don't call it shrimp.
Learn something tonight. See, you're just changing my world. Everyone here is like, oh, shrimp's on the bobby, mate.
Love it. No, for me, I still prefer Australia. I guess I like the idea of going to a beach without a scarf on.
I feel you. Yeah. I'm a beach person. Ethan and them, when we went on our road trip recently, Ethan and them were like all about, the kind of more historic places, and I'm just like, oh, let's go to the beach. I'm excited to go to the beach. So I'd be all about Australia. And whenever I try to do an accent, apparently it comes off Australian. So I belong there, man. Take us with me.
You do. You're always welcome, mate.
Awesome. But yeah, what do you think, Ethan? What do you prefer?
Know. Australia is the first place we've talked to someone on here that I haven't been. So I'd like to go to Australia. It's such a long time traveling there, man. I couldn't imagine. I hate flying, so I don't know. I'd have
It's
to
worth
stay
it,
for
though.
like 3 weeks. Yeah, I bet it's worth it. I knew a guy who did Australia and New Zealand like month-long vacation. So if I could go hard like that, I would definitely do it. So
Yeah, no, you should, man. You
yeah,
definitely
make
should.
that.
I'll hook you
Yeah,
up.
it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. What's the best thing about living in Australia?
For me, I guess it's the work-life balance. Just the quality of living. You know, there's it's hot, but it's good. I've been to other places where it's raining all the time and whatnot. And honestly, man, it's really chill, to be honest. You take things for granted, you take your lifestyle for granted, and then you go somewhere else and you go, you know what? The quality of living is really good here. So I have to say it's an awesome place to just chill out in and live day-to-day life,
Yeah,
What's
minus
the
the
weather
spiders
like?
and snakes. Right now, so I've got a friend in New Zealand, and you might know Lex, and
Yeah, definitely. I
like
was
we're
actually
always
about to
talking
mention that
about,
earlier.
yeah, we're always talking about the weather, and like I think one evening I was driving home from work, and I was just showing them something, and she noticed that in winter, in the hardest part of winter, the middle of winter, I'm freezing, and she's looking at the temperature. It's 22 degrees Celsius. And she's like, F you. She's sitting there in, 8 degrees, 6 degrees, minus 100 degrees Celsius. And I'm sitting here complaining about 22 degrees Celsius, like desert weather. Um, it's pretty cool. Like down here, it doesn't get as cold as probably the eastern states on the west coast here. But like even right now, I can probably say it's like, like probably 15 degrees Celsius, which, it's not bad for I guess a spring morning. I think it's about. I'll tell you what it is in Fahrenheit at the moment. I'm just
So
going to
we're
do a
that
quick
stupid
check.
country that doesn't use what the rest of the world uses.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. All
Let
right,
me
so
get that
22
little
degrees
card.
was 71 Fahrenheit.
Holy
That
shit,
was
dude,
our
that's
winter.
great. That's perfect.
And right now it's 59, I'd say.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't even realize till recently. Really, I think I was talking to Lex. I didn't realize that Australia was like the opposite of our seasons.
Yeah,
Like I just thought that well, I knew it'd be like different, but I didn't know it was like when we're in
that's
summer,
it.
they're in winter. That's insane.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
yeah. Here it's where we live, and it's kind of like it gets both. Like it gets up in the hundreds. Well, I don't know what that is in Celsius. It gets really hot during the summer. It gets really cold during the winter. So
yeah,
we get the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, that's pretty hot. We get close to that. We probably get about 107 on average in summer, which is
Wow.
uncomfortable, but we get used to it when you're born in it, I guess.
Today was just 82 when I was complaining. So
Yeah, don't worry, I would as well.
it's like I don't mind it if it's at a beach, but we're not at a beach, and that's unacceptable. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's great. I always make fun of Alex. I always call her Australian. She takes it as an insult. I don't know why she does.
I hear about it.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, she doesn't take it well.
Uh,
She's all good.
I didn't know there'd be that much of a difference between weather in New Zealand and Australia. I kind of lump them together. So,
Yeah, a lot of people do. But no, they're quite south, to be honest. They're like I would say they're similar weather to Scotland, to be very honest with you,
yeah,
to give you that extreme. So we're kind of like the maybe like the Arizona, Texas kind of weather in a
yeah.
nutshell, and maybe Florida on the other side. And then you've got New Zealand, which is more like Scotland, Ireland, sort of, that cold, dreadful, sort of weather.
I mean, I've always thought of New Zealand as Australia's Scotland, kind of like
Yeah,
they're paired
yeah,
together, like how England and Scotland are.
yeah,
So when you group them
exactly.
together when you're talking, so,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just the United Kingdom. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They don't
uh,
like it, but that's cool.
Jean said she lived in Australia for 8 years. That's a dream of mine. I've always loved Australia. Like I don't know why. I don't know if it's the Dundee, which we'll get to later down in here. I want to ask about stereotypes down the road, but I've always just loved the idea of it. And Soggy Seal asked, "How far in the future is he?" 12 hours ahead.
Yeah. It's also Soggy Seal's birthday, so everyone wish him a happy birthday.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, mate.
Yeah.
Mate. Man, only like 20 minutes of talking to you. Not even 20 minutes. Already picking up the lingo.
Good.
Baby got ate by a dingo.
And
Is that a problem?
that was in my state.
How many babies get eaten by dingoes?
Unfortunately, not as many as you think. And they proved just recently, actually, she was all in the clear. A dingo did get her baby. They proved it with DNA. So she was right. Linda was right the whole time.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
Man, it's like one of the first internet memes. It's like at the sake of someone's baby. It's sad, but dingo ate my baby.
She's suing them so badly. She is suing them so hard.
And she deserves it. Let her get her.
She
money.
does. Exactly. All the royalties.
All the t-shirt sales. Does that make up for it? We're starting off dark, strangers.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that story when I was making the outline. I should have, man. I used to say that all the time. That's crazy that it's real. I thought it was an urban legend. So
I was going to wait for the Vegemite sandwich question.
Oh yeah, that's all. I didn't think about that, but Vegemite. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Was it with who was it with? Oh God, I can't remember who we talked about it with.
I don't remember it either.
But I asked if Vegemite was disgusting because I've heard people that tried it in America, they weren't about it. But Rocket Power told me that it's good. So
I love it.
You like it? What is it exactly? Like I know it's like
it's Vegemite extract. So basically, it's all the stuff from vegetables, and it's put into a paste. It's just a salty. It's actually really good for you, but it looks deceiving. Like if someone handed you a piece of bread with that on it, you'd be like, did a 2-year-old use it as toilet paper? But it's actually really good.
Spooky Whispering said, "Fuck Vegemite."
It does have you. It's got
I want to put that on a shirt. Just fuck Vegemite. I really want to try it, but
it's a lot of people when they try it and they're not used to it, they put too much. Like it's too salty if you put too much. You've got to be careful. Bit of butter, a thin layer of Vegemite, and you're right to go. You don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, it's just the way you described it's like, all right, so vegetables, right? You take that and you just get the extract of the vegetables, and then you put it into a paste.
With yeast.
That just sounds so good.
So how often do you eat this?
How are your poops?
Yeah.
Very good, actually. I probably have it every time I have toast, which is probably every morning, or if I go to a cafe or something, they have it in a little, I don't know if you've got like little ketchup in those squeezy packets.
Yeah.
They kind of do Vegemite in those. Yeah, exactly, and peanut butter and whatnot. So I'll get those and I'll get the butter knife and sit there and just eat it while I'm waiting for my coffee to come out, or it's my partner looks at me every time I do it and she's like, oh God, here we go. Would you Vegemite love? Yes.
That's definitely on my to-do list to try that sometime.
You have to, man. I'll send you some.
I didn't know it was essential to breakfast.
It is the biggest. That and Milo. So Milo is our like staple for drinks. So it's like a chocolate barley malt that well, it's not malt, but it's a chocolate barley, kind of like a milk flavoring, but it's got a lot of energy and protein and whatnot in it, I suppose. And you mix that with your milk and you have that. These are things I'll send you guys so you can try it.
Definitely. We can make a video on just trying that. We should have everyone that we've talked to another channel in another country tell us something we should try and just make a video on that.
Yeah, we'll send you things that we eat, which I don't know of anything that really would shock you. But yeah, there was another food I wanted to ask you about besides Vegemite.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. It'll hit me. But yeah. I'd definitely try that for a video. Oh,
you would like, yeah.
I'm sorry, this is completely off topic. We'll jump back. I was driving to somewhere for work that's only a couple hours away from us, and I saw a Good Mythical Morning billboard. I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share that. So
they're getting giddy, man.
They're doing so well. Rhett and is it Rhett and Link?
Rhett and Link, yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching them for years. I'm so happy with their success.
They're so good. And I found out that I can't remember if it was Rhett. I think it was Rhett was actually born not far from us. So like when I saw that billboard, it was like the #1 news station in this area, and I was like, "Holy shit, are they filmed here?" They're not. And I got super excited for a second. I was like, "Collaboration!"
Oh yeah.
And they would probably do it as well. Like they are so gen.
They just seem like really nice guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the topics. Vegemite. Let's see, where were we on the thing? I don't want to ask a question that hasn't been. You already asked. Let's see. I don't know. You take it, Ethan. I'm going to answer the chat. So, Spooky said if you look at the ingredients label on Vegemite, it's yeast extract. Amy only said, seriously, Vegemite is so gross. Fight. Let's see. I give Vegemite to people I secretly hate. Oh, man. Everyone's hating on Vegemite. Let's see. Try Stroop waffles from Belgium. Have you been to Belgium, Ethan?
No, I haven't. I've had some really sketchy waffles on the side of the road in like Norway.
I haven't been
somewhere like.
I thought you were just
really
into there. It's like I haven't been to Belgium, but I've had some really sketchy waffles on the side.
They were delicious. They were like kids on the side of the road, on this country road. That like bus stopped so that we could buy these waffles from these kids. They're like they're the best waffles in the country. So.
Oh man, that's great. Okay, cool. But yeah, I think that's the chat.
All right, Mr. Reality. Is that a character or is that you? What did you base him on? Your like whole display picture and everything. Is there a story behind the branding?
Yeah, look, so for me, when I guess when I started horror narrating, I wasn't sure what to call myself because I didn't want to use my real name for the sake of, keeping some sort of anonymity. I probably said too many syllables in there. So I wanted some sort of, I guess, persuade or something like that to, just to reveal hide my identity. So, so for me, it's always been about true stuff. It's always been about true crimes. It's always been about factual stories, true stories, whether it's narrating someone's story or, true crimes or whatever. So, mysteries and crimes. So for me, Mr. Reality was really what popped into mind. As I was playing around on the microphone and ways to introduce myself, maybe just brainstorm, and it just stuck with me. I kept coming back to it. I was a bit iffy about the Mr. thing because there's just so many out there. But it just stuck, and it went from there. So the kangaroo was just, it took me a while after starting the channel to actually get, to actually come up with that. Sorry, guys, my alarm's just going off again. To actually come up with that avatar. But man, TV actually drew that one up for me. Once I sort of thought, the hood's me, the dark hair's me and all that, but the kangaroo is something that I just thought was fitting, being Australian, being a kangaroo. I guess those two things just went together. So I guess that's the idea behind the name and all that, and I guess the font was just more like a ripper from X-Files, to be honest, because I love UFOs, aliens.
I really like the kangaroo. Like that's like says you're Australian right away. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That in a way,
that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I struggle. I was gonna say like kangaroos in a way are almost like mythical creatures to us. Like I mean, they're crazy looking. So
yeah, coming for us. But
favorite Australian movie, Kangaroo Jack.
People don't realize how big they are as well. Like they get up to about 7 feet, and people go, "Oh, I didn't realize they're that big." Like, yeah, they're about average 6'2". Like they're taller than me. Like you don't want to fight with them.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people fighting with them, but from what I understand, like they're kind of a problem. Like I think from what I've seen, they're kind of like what deer are to us as far as like jumping in the road, aren't they?
Yes. Like I get them across the road from my place. Not as much anymore because they realize they keep getting run over, but they are like deers. The faster I believe, I only know this in Australia, but I didn't realize with deers that the faster you drive, especially at night, apparently they're all like deers are ready to jump in front of your car and get killed. Is that
Yeah.
deal with deers?
I've knock on wood. I've never had an issue with it. I think a lot of people slow down for deers and then they end up jumping in front of them, but I think they just see the headlights and they don't know what to do. But
Right.
most people I know have hit a deer. Like,
Yep.
I'd say 95% of people I know. So they are definitely a problem. And I mean, you'll see like packs of 12 to 15, 12 to 20 deer at one time just hanging out. So
Just chilling, and then they see some headlights. Oh, slow down. Fair enough. So
But yeah.
kangaroos are much the same, you know. They're probably the biggest issue. We've got like cows and stuff that cross the road now and then, you know, but they put up warning signs saying, "Hey, look, there's going to be cows for the next stretch of road. Just, you know, but you know, you can get around a cow." But kangaroos just come at you from nowhere, like especially when you're driving dark at night with no street lights on gravel roads and stuff. You've just got to take it easy.
Yeah, the reason I actually found out about that is because I drive a motorcycle, and I was looking up, biker hits deer because I'm sadistic, and it pops up with a kangaroo, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I don't know how I'd react to that. It's like, one, I just hit something. Two, it was a kangaroo. It's like kangaroos to Americans, it's like this exotic creature that we'll never see unless we go to the zoo. So it's like, I just hit a kangaroo. Okay, that happened.
Well, yeah, I get you. The official status with kangaroos here actually is they're actually considered a pest, as much as that sounds, but they are like I don't know, they're macropods, but they're like, I think they breed like rabbits, as far as I'm aware. I'm not
No, they're
sure.
marsupials. I mean, no wait,
Yeah.
is it marsupial? Yeah,
They say macropods or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for them, but yeah, they are marsupials at the end of the day. And yeah, look, they're a pest. So actually, they're asking people, hey, would you mind bringing down their numbers, because there's just so many of them, and unfortunately, they are a pest.
wow, yeah, deer are like that too, but we can only hunt them during seasons.
Yep.
So, Jersey said that there are wild kangaroos in New Jersey, which, if that's true, that blows my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither. Kangaroos are cockroaches.
Yeah. I can just see kangaroos at the Jersey Shore be like, yo, what's the matter with you? You want to fight? Come on.
One's called Vinny, the other one's called Paulie.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like, I went to a zoo in Indiana one time, and they had a kangaroo exhibit, and like, you have the path and it's fenced up, but I mean, the kangaroos are just jumping over the fence, just like hanging out. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
they're intimidating.
The fence. They are.
Like, you don't have to worry about a deer charging you for the most part. Like, I've never heard of anyone getting attacked by a deer. I'm sure it happens, but like kangaroos, man.
Kangaroos are looking for a fight. I don't know why, but
like, make my night.
Yeah, make my exactly. That's not a knife.
How do you feel about the Crocodile Dundee?
I reckon he did an all right job at representing Australia. I wouldn't say he did make us proud in Hollywood, I have to say. Like, not from. I mean, I'm not used to having too many, seeing too many Australians like that around me growing up. But I mean, I grew up mainly in the bush, so like rural sort of areas, and it's. I wouldn't say we would wear crocodile, but crocodile is some of the most expensive leather, so I get the reference behind it. It's trying to say, like, this guy is so hardy, and look at that, he's skinned his own crocodile, and he's gotten it turned into boots and whatever the case is, right? So I think he did an all right. It's it's a nice representation of of what a hardy Australian is, and like Steve Irwin as well. He's a caring person about the animals. Yeah. But Steve Irwin is probably, people think, oh, he's just not too many Aussies are like him, but average Aussie dads are similar to Steve Irwin. Passionate, caring.
You can't tell me that. He's like my idol. Now I really want
no one will replace Steve Irwin.
No, but I want you to know, if you've had any doubt, like, Americans, everything they know of Australia is the crocodile hunter and the crocodile Dundee. Like, that is all we know of you. Like, that's the epitome of stereotype.
And kangaroos.
And
kangaroos. I can't believe you see kangaroos on the regular basis. That's pretty crazy just to think about.
But the fact that you just said that a majority of people are like that, like, that's, oh man, He's just one of the best people ever.
He is. Yes. He really did us proud. I mean, for someone who was just himself, like Paul Hogan at the end of the day, he was playing a character, but Steve Irwin was just himself. And his wife's American, actually, if you remember. But no, look, he was a genuine bloke, a top bloke, and he's left an amazing legacy behind. He's worked so hard to, to put Australia on the map and Australia in general, with care of animals and what it is all about down here. So he's a top bloke.
I was very upset when he passed away. Like it hit me hard. I mean, I was a lot younger too, but I mean, I'd loved him. And then his kids, I see they've carried on his legacy.
Bindi and Rob, yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm so happy they did because, Bindi's really advocating, Australia Zoo and everything about it. Rob's actually taken over Steve's job of what he was doing, I suppose. So there might be a new crocodile, hunter. Not that he wouldn't replace his dad, but,
That's
the future is still promising, yeah.
I'm excited to get to talk about the crocodile hunter on a podcast. So that's pretty happy. I'm pretty happy
without it being weird.
Yeah, it's like didn't have to work too hard to shoehorn it in. It just worked. Yeah, that's awesome. Like it's cool. Like it does make me want to visit Australia more because it just sounds like people down there are just really relaxed. So, but now I have you to judge as well as them. And so far, hell yeah, dude. I'm into the idea. Let's go to Australia, Ethan.
I mean, I would love to. Well, minus the flight. I fucking hate flying. It would have to be worth the time, but I'd love to. It'd be really cool just to experience it. So, and everyone still speaks English, so you're not lost. Yeah.
How long is it? Is it like...
It's like 20, 24 hours, 28 hours, something crazy.
Oh, man. 4 hours kicked my ass.
Yeah, it's a giant flight. Massive. But Carrie asked... Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, Carrie asked you, how did you get into like horror narrations? Did someone inspire you, or?
Yeah,
what?
So I guess for me, I was having this conversation actually just last night with my partner, and we were saying that that I guess the first thing I ever heard, which was by accident, because I was listening to someone talking about the flat Earth conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, "Oh, this guy's crazy," like, what's this? Sorry if I offend anyone, but I was like, "Come on, man." Was the next thing that came up on the autoplay was Corpse Husband, his search and rescue video, the creepypasta reading that he did, and I was like, "What is this? What am I listening to?" And it just took off from there. Like it just started recommending, his videos and so on from there. So I guess that's really what pulled me in, to be honest, is I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. Like I've seen, documentaries, I've seen, like taking snippets of, things, but I didn't know there was this whole, I guess, following behind, listening to to creepy stuff. I just thought that was for movies, I didn't think that would be like a podcast style or a, storytelling style that was, quite prominent here on, which is the horror community. So that's really what brought me in. And after starting my channel for a bit, I think Slumber Reads found me just by, I guess YouTube or something like that. And he subscribed and commented on the channel, and that's how I, met him. And I guess it went from there. So that's how I actually met the horror community, through Twitter, and then went from there, to be honest.
Yeah, that's kind of how it happened for us. Like we started and then we got into Twitter and started reading people. But it's really great getting to know the community. Like, 'cause it sucks being like feeling like you're on your own. So getting to speak to other people, figure out what they do and how it's, it's nice. I know I'm missing some comments here, but a Fanasis, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, ally said emus are tasty. They are tasty.
Yes, they are.
Man, I didn't. All right, so my ex has a condition called alpha-gal, and it makes it where she can't eat anything mammalian. So no red meat, no milk, anything like that, anything that comes from a mammal. So to make up for not being able to eat steak, she ate emu. and she made me eat it, and I was like, all right. And one weird thing that a lot of people probably don't know around here is that emu is red meat, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, it was delicious. It was really good.
Yeah, it is really good. We don't have it often, but because it's actually quite expensive. But
Expensive here too.
yeah, unfortunately, it's just where it is. But I didn't realize they actually had emu farms and stuff overseas. I just thought it was just something here. So, like something unique to us. Because kangaroo meat is quite, obviously common as well. With the whole needing to bring down their numbers and everything. But it's quite lean. Kangaroo meat is really lean. It's red meat still, but it's cheap. Put it that way. It's cheap.
Which one's your favorite, emu or kangaroo?
Kangaroo. Kangaroo.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never
do you
even
eat it?
thought about eating kangaroo, but now it's on my list.
Yeah. It's got a very strong taste. Like, I wouldn't say it tastes like chicken or anything like that. It's, you're eating kangaroo, put it that way.
Huh. Have you ever had deer meat by chance?
I think so. We don't have a lot of. I don't know if we have a lot of deer down here, to be honest. I mean, we do, but in farms, I'm guessing, or maybe we import. I have no idea how we got it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's something that you don't necessarily know it's deer. It's kind of a chewy meat, but I don't know if it's probably not comparable to kangaroo. Totally different species. But yeah, kangaroo meat, man. That sounds. I got to put that on my list. Get down.
Unfortunately, I can't send you that one. That might get a bit manky by the time you get it.
Yeah, it's probably not the best.
You don't want to eat that.
At least it's good to know that if I come to Australia, I got to try some kangaroo, and it'll be cheap. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
But
It'll be
I'm
decent.
into eating all the different animals.
Just eat our coat of arms.
Yeah.
What's the strangest thing you have eaten?
Probably ox tongue, to be honest. It was a Filipino restaurant, and I was like, "Oh, this looks good." It was a buffet setup, and all you can eat sort of deal. And I put this thing in my plate, and I was like, "Okay, cool." So, oh yeah, that's ox tongue. You sure you want that? Like, I'm okay. I don't know. Let me try. And I was like, "Oh, it's chewy. Okay, never mind. Take it back."
Huh. So it's all right. What did it taste like?
Oh, I wouldn't say it had a flavor. I would just say I couldn't chew it. I kind of just gave up about 30 minutes in. I was like, nope. Let's just spit that back out.
Yeah, it sounds different.
I ate that except in the Bahamas, and they fixed it as like a Jamaican dish, but it was really like Chinese food because it had rice and the way it tasted, and
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was because it was called something else. But I remember like what it looked like, and I was looking it up after when I got home, and I was like, oh, that's what that was. I was really hungry, and it tasted like Chinese food to me the way they had fixed it. So, but they call it Jamaican something. So
It sounds like they did it right though.
yeah.
It sounds like they actually cooked it maybe the way they should have to make it edible. Because what I had wasn't edible, man. It was like eating rubber. It was like eating a rubber belt.
That's
That's
kind of what
buffet
put up
food
your
in
car.
general.
Like open up your hood, take out the timing belt. Here you go.
delicious.
Yeah.
The oil taste is just it comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like grease.
I haven't eaten anything that weird.
I think it was just a bad run, a bad, unfortunate circumstance.
Probably the strangest thing I've had is actually alligator, which isn't that strange, but it is. It's unusual for where we live, but it's good. It's delicious. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was really good. I actually had it the other day in South Boston, man. So,
We're kind of far away from alligators, so South Boston.
yeah, man. It was a Cajun place. I ate all the same New Orleans stuff. They even have what is it, beignets, whatever.
Oh,
it
I know
is.
the place you're talking about.
Yeah, it was good. It was kind of sketchy. It was in a hotel room. I mean, not room, but
Hotel room.
building. Yeah. So,
Oh man.
How did you find the meat on the alligator? Because I've had crocodile, which I'm guessing would be the same. It's like chickeny, like white
yeah.
meat, right? Yeah, okay. You would expect a more ferocious meat, like like a spicy, sort of dark meat or something like that, from such a vicious animal sort of thing. But
Well,
not
just
vicious,
tastes like
but
chicken. But I
tastes
mean,
like chicken.
if you go by the whole dinosaur theory, they say they were closely related to chickens, and reptiles descended from dinosaurs. So maybe that's a connection. Who knows? But yeah, like alligator tail, we had it in New Orleans, and it was just amazing. Like I've had it in other places too, but it was really chewy. But in New Orleans, it could have been chicken for all I know. But it was
Yeah,
really good.
well, that's awesome, man.
It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
I'll have to try that.
Oh, definitely. It's really good. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the dog busy. She's like freaking out.
You're all good.
Let me see if I can pull her into
That's
frame.
yours.
Come here. She's basically an alligator. Yeah. Let's see. After Dark said best food in Baltimore, MD is found down alleys and behind unmarked doors. That sounds. I think the sketchier the place, the better the food. In most places.
Yeah.
I've eaten in a few places that I'm kind of sure were drug fronts that they didn't expect you to eat at, and they had to fix you food. Took forever. It was good though, but definitely sketchy. So, what's your favorite Australian legend, haunting, mystery, or cryptid? What's your favorite?
I guess for me, because it's still current, but it's about the Claremont killer. Because where I'm from in Perth on the west coast, the Claremont killer was basically a guy who was going around murdering, women on their way to or from, just going out for a night out with their friends and all that. And that's actually been happening in the last 20 years for the sake of it. I guess for me, it's still a mystery because they don't know where all the bodies are.
Yeah.
They know who the guy is, but they don't know where the body are. And the reason it's probably one of my, I say favorite, but it's probably like the one hits home to me the most, is because I actually am probably like, I say like a kilometer, which let's say a mile away from where his property used to be, where he may have buried those bodies. Now, the problem is they've subdivided the properties since then. So we're talking about 100 to 200 homes that they would now have to tear up or dig up or whatever like that just to find these bodies. So they've got the guy. He's pleaded guilty to the ones, he's found, who happens to be the high school friend of my colleague that I work with right now. So that's how much they know each other. Like they still have each other. They had each other on Facebook up until he got caught and sentenced 2 months ago. So he's pretty fresh. So for me, that's probably the one that really sticks with me at the moment.
Have you done a video on him? You should.
No,
if you haven't.
I want to. I've got something planned, but at the moment, I don't know enough about it. It's still pretty locked up.
Yeah.
Other than the factual information, the rest is just all hearsay. And I feel like I would need a bit more facts just to, make it something to report on. At the moment, we're just waiting. It's all still going through trial and whatnot. But yeah.
I mean, I always get creeped out by really recent stuff because, I mean, the past stuff you can almost think, oh, that was a long time ago, but recent things, it's really creepy.
It is, yeah.
So I'm a little unfamiliar with the topic. Like, how many people has he admitted to killing?
I believe it was only hang on, I'm going to remember now. I believe it was the 3, but a lot more have gone missing in the same sort of fashion. So they know he's responsible for a lot more of the missing women, but they can't pin it to him because they've got no other sort of evidence to say that he did it for sure. And without the bodies, they don't know how to pin it to him. So, they've got no resolution to the families of, hey, this is what happened to your daughter. We just suspect that he did it because she went to X nightclub as the other victims did. So the patterns were all the same. But we don't have anything else to go by. So it's one of those things, like if you look at it, you go, well, obviously he's done it, but we don't know, we don't have enough evidence to sort of say, in concrete, look, this is where, yes, okay, these are where the bodies are. We can probably, get the same, like he killed them this way, which is his trademark. So that's, I guess, why it's so fascinating to me, because this guy would just do it on the way home from work. He would go to work and he would do it, or he'd come back from work and that's that's what he'd do. He would prey on these women and kill them. And it's like, this guy clearly had no conscience. He wasn't human.
I mean, a lot of serial killers or people, they just kind of like think they're above humanity. Like they lose their association with humanity. So like basically they treat like other people like bugs. Like you're just stepping on someone.
Yeah.
So, but that's crazy that it was so close to you and so recent, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't bragged about it. Like a lot of killers, once they get caught, they start like inflating their numbers or really just talking it up. Like, oh yeah, I'm like the baddest person ever. I killed so many people. So
yeah, exactly. He's I don't know if he really had many people to talk to or anything about it. To be honest, I don't know. The impression I got from my colleague was that he wasn't necessarily someone who did well with other people. He's always been a bit strange. So, I guess if he did, he wouldn't have anyone to brag to.
yeah. So,
But yeah, I completely get what I guess that's the motive of any serial killer is, they think they are above humanity.
yeah. I don't know. Besides that, have you ever experienced anything strange or paranormal or anything?
Yeah. Yes, I have. So, I think I got our house haunted as a child.
You're the cause of it.
I was the cause of it. So the intention was sweet, but I don't know. There was just things that happened after that. I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna get in trouble if I told my mum this, because my mum's superstitious. Like she is super superstitious. So my my brother's grandmother on his dad's side had passed away recently, and I don't know. I was outside, and I've always been terrified of like talking to ghosts and whatnot. So I wouldn't do it. But it was broad daylight, and I was sitting on the steps outside, and I was like, I don't know. I just started pretending to talk to her and all that kind of stuff, and then I told her to put her hand on my back, if she was there and all that stuff. And I felt something touch my back, and I was like, I think I was like 7 at the time, or 8, and I was like, oh wow, I felt that. And then I went with it, thinking, oh, it's just probably my head. And broad daylight, I felt pretty confident. Anyway, later on, I think a couple of days later, my mum was outside having a smoke, but she keeps the door shut. So she was sitting on the back steps, and she swore blue that she saw my grandma sitting right next to her, just right there, in a ghostly figure, just staring at her. And she wasn't expecting that, but she just felt something cold, and then she turned to her side and like, oh my God, she's there. What the hell? And she was frozen for a couple of minutes, and then she managed to come back inside, and she told me about it as a kid. Well, she told us about it as children, and then just stuff was happening inside the house. My mum kept seeing her. Things would like just drop it. Like she'd be like talking to me, and then something would like lift, like a painting would lift up from the wall and just drop to the floor, and things would go missing. It's like, oh, okay. I didn't want to tell her that, of what I did, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I got our house haunted.
So it sounds like you definitely opened it up. From the people I've talked to that have had similar experience, it definitely sounds like you like bridged a connection there to something. That is creepy. Would you tell your mom about it now? Like now that it's in the past?
I probably would, to be honest. I actually completely it's something I'm still a bit worried because, I know what her reaction would be.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm nearly in my 30s now, she'd come with a rolling pin and just.
I mean, that's good though. That's good. That means your mom's a good mom. That's awesome.
What?
The story hits pretty close to home. So, did you talk about on the last live stream, Ethan?
I don't know. We briefly mentioned it on Discord and stuff, and I told someone in the comments on our channel, but I haven't really talked about it. I don't think last time we pretty much just talked about the topic, so I don't think I mentioned it.
Okay, so let me set the story. A couple months ago, we did a video on Ouija boards, which we did in my house because I call myself a hopeful skeptic. I've never had anything that was like, oh, it's got to be ghosts are real. Like I've always wanted proof. So I was like, yeah, we'll just do a Ouija board in my house. So we did it. And when we were doing it, it didn't really amount to much. It did move a lot, which, it could. There was 3 of us doing it. Like my mind was like skeptical. Is like, oh, it could have been someone else moving it. But the only real notable things was it kept saying TV, TV, TV. And if you go back and watch the video, like in the video, I'm like, yeah, it's an okay TV. What's wrong with the TV? It didn't make sense. Well, the Sunday before last, Navi and I were watching football, and I hear something crash upstairs, and we're the only ones in the house. So I go upstairs, and the mirror in my bathroom that's been hanging for 7+ years has fallen off, shattered, flipped. Like it fell off the wall and flipped onto the floor, shattered. My deodorant was in the toilet. My hair dryer was on top of the mirror. I was like, well, that's weird. Like it didn't come out of the wall. It's as if the mirror had been thrown off. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Well, Ethan came over the next day to drop off some files for the Mothman video we were doing. And he was like, yo, what happened to your mirror? So we go to the bathroom, and I'm just kind of telling him the story. And I hear a sound that's like, I'm like, what is that? And I followed the sound, and it was coming from at my house. I rent my house from my dad, and he has one room that he just keeps for storage. And it was coming from that room, and it was a TV on, like the TV static sound. And I was like, Ethan, do you hear that? He was like, yeah, that's weird. And then it cut off. So,
but it cut off when you touched the doorknob to jiggle it. That was locked. That was the even creepier part. That's when it fucking stopped. Like I really thought you had like a girl in there. They were just hiding, and you're just fucking with me, making up a story. And then the next day, Blake texts me. He's like, TV. Maybe that's related to the fucking Ouija board. And that's definitely, it kept saying TV over and over. Like we didn't think we were doing it right. We just blamed it on each other, like Jared, it was Blake, it was me. And we just joked about it. But no, it was definitely fucking creepy.
Far out.
Yeah. So that's an ongoing story. I actually, it happened again, Ethan. I did get video of it.
See, there you go. You gotta just put up a camera, man. Let's get famous.
Yeah,
sell it to ghost hunters.
I got video from outside the door and I put it under the door, and you can hear the static. I might have to upload that. We'll just do a series of Blake's house is haunted.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion, my parents do not know about the Ouija board. They'd be very pissed if I told them about the Ouija board. That was one of his only rules, was that with this channel, we don't bring any Ouija boards into the house, and fuck if I didn't. And,
my mom was the exact same. She had the same rule. I guess on the Ouija board side of things, this is a story my mom told us as to why. So she's got 5 sisters, so I've got 5 aunties, and they all decided to do it. And I think she was about 12 at the time. They've just moved to Australia, and they decided, yeah, okay, let's try it out, because in Singapore they don't have any of this stuff at the time. So they're using it, and apparently they got an answer, and it told her. She asked, "When will I die?" And he gave her numbers. Now she's never told me those numbers, but she's put the numbers. She doesn't understand when those numbers are, but. And I think she's forgotten about it since then, in terms of like she doesn't live her life by it. But there was so many, all these years she's been living by the combinations of numbers that she thought they were. So she's just banned Ouija boards, like from ever since I was born. She's like, I'm spiritual, I'm superstitious, but Ouija boards and anything that can summon this and that. So I guess that's where the whole, me summoning ghosts and stuff would get me in trouble.
Yeah, I'm a little sketched out by it too. Like when we were doing it, it was weird because it was moving. I honestly, when we made the video, I expected it to be a flop. I thought we were going to have to make a video like a joke about like, it spelling out random stuff. And I was like, well, we're just make it funny video. But then it started moving on its own. Yeah. And I tried catching Ethan and the other guy that we had with us, Jaron, like moving it. And I couldn't get them to, to prove they weren't doing it. I mean, to prove they were doing it. But, during the time it was happening, at one point it went XLV, then it went to like between the 4 and the 5, and that didn't mean anything to me. And in post I was editing, and I was like, wait, what is XLV in Roman numerals? And it's 45.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's weird, but now I have no idea what context that is. I don't know what 45 means. So it's just like everything 45. I'm like, oh man, what's that about?
Yeah, when we were doing it, I thought like TV might been like Blake messing with it and he was gonna turn something on the TV to fuck with us, but it was really strange. And really like it at the time when we did it, it really didn't seem like anything was happening. Like yeah, it was moving on its own. But I've heard like there's theories that like Ouija boards are like kind of like a group think type thing. Like it's you guys sync together and you just spell out stupid shit together like subconsciously. But yeah, then to have the TV thing happen later, it was definitely a little creepy. What do you guys think about mediums? Would you guys ever get your fortune told or go see someone about that?
Probably not by John Edwards.
Yeah.
For me personally, I've heard that there's a girl from I think she's from New York or New Jersey. I can't remember her name now. She's a blonde lady.
Talking about the new. Are you talking about the medium? Long Island medium.
Yeah. So my mom watches her. She watches all this stuff. You see, because so I hear about this. So my mom reckons she's legit, and Lisa Williams. But Lisa Williams, I don't think is. She's the English one that I believe lives in the States now. I personally wouldn't, to be honest, just because I wouldn't want to know. I don't want to make any contact. Like I'd do it if I was drunk, probably, but like I don't need that stuff in my life. I've got enough creepy shit going on. I don't need more. I'm good.
Yeah, my sister actually went to see the Long Island medium, and I've always been under the impression she's a fraud. I just think that
Right.
most mediums are frauds because if you watch videos, they do things called cold readings where they'll be like, has anyone in this room have they had a relative die that's name started with the letter J? And it's like, yeah, my dad's name was John. It's like, oh, did he die from some kind of illness? It's like, yeah, he did. And
Yeah.
it's like there was a guy named what's his name? He's a famous like debunker, but he was
Yeah.
just saying, he was like, if a spirit was trying to contact you, why would they be like, tell her the name starts with J. Don't tell her my actual name. Don't tell them who I'm actually.
It's like static though. It's cutting in and out, man. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
Tune it in.
Randy was his name. It was like James Randy, I think, or something like that. You should go look him up. He's good. But yeah,
Yep.
it's like there might be people that are spiritually connected. They can actually communicate with ghosts, or at least feel the presence of ghosts. But the big ones, like who was it? Said Sylvia Brown. Yeah, Sylvia Brown. She actually got caught lying. I think she was the one that said that it was an army veteran. There was someone in the army's parents. Like the soldier had gone missing, and she was talking to the parents. And they were like, "Is my kid alive?" And they were like, "She was like, sorry, they died. They're in the middle of a swamp somewhere or something like that." And they were heartbroken, but at least they had closure. Well, the kid showed up, or they found. I can't remember if he was alive or dead, but they found the body, and it wasn't. I think he was alive. And
Yeah.
Sylvia Brown was like, "Oh, whoops." They believed their kid was dead, and then nope.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I guess the one thing that got me about both of those mediums I mentioned is that they make it I guess like a reality show on top of what they do, right?
Yeah.
So they do the readings and as a reality show. And what I guess thought why I don't watch Long Island Medium personally is I said this to Mum. I said, all she does for like 80% of the show is sit there, show you how she's going to the gym, how she's got money to upgrade this in a house, that in a house. I was like, where do you think all that money's coming from?
Mm-hmm.
These poor sods that are paying a fortune just to come and see that they think that they're passing with talking to their deceased, and it's like that alone for me was just like, nah, this is just morally wrong. I'm sorry, but like, I didn't care about what marble she's using on her kitchen bench top. Like,
That's the thing, though. She'll be doing that, but she'll be at the gym working out, but she'll be like, look at the person on the treadmill beside her. Oh, hey, did you have a family member that died? Did he like working out? He says he loves you. Yeah, he loves you, darling. Yeah, look at my nails. Look at my nails.
Then she sends the invoice in the mail. The producers give the invoice after that. Like, that would be, $7,000, please.
Exactly.
Freaking hell.
Yeah. What was it? Spooky Whispering said she's challenged she's channeled as a medium before. Let me tell you, I didn't like it. I could see her doing that. She seems like she could be on the level of spiritual awareness. She's cool as shit though. Anyone that hasn't, go check out Spooky Whispering. Great channel, good stuff.
Yeah. And After Dark Analysis is here. Check
Sorry,
her
after
out too.
I'm a little drunk, guys. I'm not the
I'm
best.
just saying, like, no, they're really cool. I was gonna say, would you? I mean, I would like to make a video of going to a medium. Like, we got two in our town. It's a mother and daughter at separate ends of our city.
They've been there
But
forever.
yeah, they have. And I mean, their house is one of the mothers is like diagonal from my office. And I have one creepy story from it. A girl I dated in college, like her mom married this dude whose both kids had like passed away. And his youngest kid went to a medium when he turned 16 or 15, something like that, really young. It was like something he really wanted to do for his birthday. Went to her, and she said that he was surrounded by death. And that's all she would say about his future was like, death surrounds you, supposedly, is what I've been told. And the next year, like, his sister accidentally committed suicide with a gun she found in the house, accidentally shot herself. And then like 2 years after that, or 3 years, something along the lines, like, he died in a car crash. So that's always freaked me out about it. So, and his dad would always like tell that story. So
That's so crazy.
it is, and that's definitely, I don't want to be. And my cousin's wife is really into it. She goes to a medium and says the medium always tells her that they're surrounded by money and that they're going to get rich eventually, which is pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I would like that scenario. I don't want to be told I'm surrounded by death and knowing the outcome of that.
But then they spend all their money giving it to the medium.
Yeah, that's true. That also might be another tactic right there. So
one of my exes asked me for $40 to go see the medium because we were having trouble in the relationship, and she wanted to go see the medium to see if we were going to last. And I literally didn't give her the money. I was just like, let me predict how it's going to end. It's going to end now. It's like, I'm not going to give you $40 for you to break up with me. But yeah, it's like I said, I'm sure that there are people that are more, in tune. Like my sister, for example, she claims that she's seen things. I've never seen anything, but my sister swears on her life. I've tried tripping her up in stories. She sticks to it. That she's seen. She saw a man in a cowboy hat at my parents' house. She saw a little kid at my parents' house, and now she's seeing her husband's grandparents. So.
Wow.
But I've never seen anything. I've only heard weird things. So the thing is, though, and she said it too. She's like, if you saw it, you wouldn't want to. Like, you wish you hadn't. And I'm probably the same way. Like, I want to see it now, so I'd have some validity and be like, oh yeah, ghosts are real, cool deal. But if I saw it, I'd probably lose a lot of sleep. I'd be like, oh man, what's watching me right now?
Yeah. Well, Amy only said she found us through Search Spooks. That's really cool. She said our content's super spooky. But we also, next month, are going to do a collaboration with them. We're still working on planning it. So in October or early November, it'd be pretty cool. And what about Mr. Reality? Have you heard about the Frederick Valentik disappearance, aliens, and he was a pilot? So
yes, I have.
What do you think of that?
So obviously you guys know about the story.
Yeah, we did a video on it. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And yeah, I loved you playing.
Yeah, that was a very, very cringy video. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun. And
I thought it was really good. I loved it. But look, I think for me, I'm of the opinion that something happened to him involving extraterrestrial or unexplainable activity. I don't think that he took his own life or he did it as some sort of stunt so people remember him. I believe that personally, looking at everything, he followed protocol towards the end, right to the end, and it was quite real. I think that recording, that snippet that you put in, just to show us the actual live recording, that was pretty creepy. Like listening to that, like I'm actually listening going, this is not made, this is not scripted, this is actually the recording. And it's like yeah, I don't know, that's how I feel about it. I think that something that we simply can't explain has, took him. And unfortunately, the poor soul, maybe his plane did, he's left behind and he was taken. Maybe he did, plunge and so, something attacked the plane and so on and so forth. But something did happen to him. I believe he did see something and he was being honest about it. And for me, that's what makes it even creepier.
It's definitely a whole creepy experience. I mean, even if someone went to that extent to like fake their death or commit suicide, it's a pretty dark thing to do because it is crazy. Like, I mean, he sounds scared. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, I've read a lot of like one person told me in the comments told us like, or it might have been on Reddit, said it was definitely like planets or stars. You don't see them move or you don't see them out that time of day. And he said something really dumb. I can't get the wording right. But I remember the next night that I went out and took a picture, and you could definitely clearly see the stars they were talking about, that they're out there constantly. Like I think they said it was Mars, like planets, Mars, Venus, something else. And yeah, and you can clearly see it out there that time of night, like every night, at least where we are. It's not Australia, but they're there. And so someone who's flying a good amount, or you should know. I mean, I know like that up there is not UFOs. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, especially, it's quite a distance away as well. I mean, for you to be in a plane like that and then look, I believe it was below him, he said, though.
Yeah, he
as
said
well.
like,
And that's where they believe he was upside down. It's like, well, come on. Even notice he was upside down.
Flying.
Like, I
Why
haven't
is
flown
he
before.
above me? This is weird.
But as a passenger, I kind of would have an idea of which way the plane was up.
Exactly. But I mean, he would have to be very, very dedicated to commit suicide with that story. Like, I can't imagine anyone, giving their life just to spread a story like that. I mean, personally, like if I was going to commit suicide, I mean, I wouldn't, but at the same time, like I wouldn't do it just to be like, oh yeah, it was Bigfoot that killed me. Like I wasn't depressed. It was just Bigfoot.
It was just Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what he did, props to him. Like that takes a lot of courage. I don't know. I'm not trying to glorify suicide, but it's beyond my realm of thinking. I can't imagine someone doing that. They died for the lulz. Like they literally killed themselves just for the lulz, and that's insane if that's what happened. But
I mean,
I think at least he believed something was happening.
yeah, I mean, there's a theory that that humanity has like a eternity, like I guess ego type thing where we want to be remembered forever. That's why people, when they're rich, they try to build buildings, put it in their name and everything. People even say that's wars are justified so that people's names will go down in history. So you could almost say like faking your death to make your name in UFO history might be a thing. And UFOs were really popular back then. So you never know. It is crazy to think.
Yeah, Lorena said that's lunacy, not courage. I agree. The reason I said courage is because like I'm too much of a pussy to commit suicide. Like, so the fact that someone had enough balls to commit suicide for that's insane to me. Or it could, like you said, be lunacy. Insanity does kind of make a little more sense than a rational person committing suicide just to further an agenda.
Yeah.
My partner has that opinion as well, that it was obviously had she looked at the beginning of this story, where he had issues, he had failed tests a few times, and he's it looked like he had maybe some mental health issues as well, which looks like pretty much what you said. If he did take his life, he's probably need to see a doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe he had something undiagnosed or something like that. But and to add to that, actually, mental health in Australia, I think back then, I don't know about the States, but it wasn't something you ever talked about. I guess you would be considered weak if you spoke about it. So, it could be very well be an undiagnosed situation.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at that point, like, I know his life was flying, but damn. I mean, my life was dedicated to being rich. I'm not rich, but I didn't kill myself about it. I just gotta keep on going, man. Find another hobby.
I don't know, flying is a pretty cool hobby, and he was still doing it. I mean, he was still getting to go up there and fly. What's the difference? Or the area that it happened was Melbourne, and it's got a lot of UFO incidences. I found one that we could read in a few minutes, but also Gregory Johnson mentioned Perth has a lot of UFO sightings. How close are they together? How often does Australia have UFO sightings? Do you know?
I can only probably tell you in the last, I say, like 20, I guess 28 years, but Perth doesn't. I wouldn't say Perth has a lot compared to the eastern states. I mean, Western Australia as a whole, because Western Australia is the a very large state. Um, we have had, I guess, some alien reports, but or UFO sort of reports, but I wouldn't say there's been as much compared to the eastern states, which is New South Wales, Victoria, which is Melbourne's state, and Queensland. I mean, I believe they have a lot more over there than we do over here, but at the same time, it's only what we get told, you know.
Yeah.
So it could very well be, like an underground sort of society that, are sharing that information. But I certainly don't know about it. Once I found out about it, then I'd love to know. I'll be out there. If there was something closer to home, I'll be out there looking for these guys. But Perth, yeah, Perth doesn't. As far as I'm aware, we haven't had a lot over here or in WA in general. But I know over east, team like Secure Team 10 and everything like that. The Aussies that send their clips in and stuff. They've always been over east, on the east coast.
Do you have any theory why that's a thing? A personal theory or anything?
I believe maybe because if you look up on a map, that's where everyone is.
Yeah.
Here there's nothing over here. Like they call my city the City of Lights and the most isolated city in the world because it's so far away from everything. But if you look on a map, it's literally just this speck of lights, and then there's nothing for like the next, God knows how many thousands, millions of square kilometers, probably not millions, but thousands, Whereas if you look on the map over east, it's just lit up like a Christmas tree because that's where everyone lives. That's the better, because we're all desert over here. We've got desert and we've just got, like a small spot where you can grow grapes for your wine. But over east, it's a much better climate, a much better, terrain, so to speak. So maybe it's the population, I suppose, or more people to see things. Maybe the same activities there, but more people are witnessing it.
Yeah, that's true. The more
My
people,
theory,
yeah.
My theory is that the aliens are just up there like, yo, Kleborp, where should we land? And it's like, dude, I've just been watching like Animal Planet and stuff, and this Australia place is lit. It's like,
no one will notice us.
These people are as cool as fuck. It's like, let's just go land there. They got prawns on the Barbie. Yeah, it's just gonna be a cool ass time. Don't have to worry about it. Like, we were gonna go to America, but those guys are bombing people. Let's not worry about them. We're just gonna go to Australia.
They're too politically correct over there.
It's gonna be
they have a whole continent to themselves down there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a chill ass time.
Absolutely.
So on that thing, how does it feel knowing that Australia? I mean, the origin of Australia was as a prison, like a prison continent, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where they sent everyone. Like it's crazy that the place that they sent all of their criminals is just the chillest place. It's like such a cool place.
It's had a lot of. It is chill now. I would say, but unfortunately, the beginnings. If you send any prisoners anywhere, just to force to labor and build, I guess a cities up for the sake of the people who get to settle in it. To bring, to give them accommodation, so to speak, or a ready built town to live in is is grueling. And that's why we have, a lot of, I believe, a lot of paranormal sort of activity that, a lot of haunted places, a lot of places where there's just a lot of death, I guess it's the same with any, I guess, sort of place where they've used slaves essentially to build something up or to do something, with that, there's always death. There's always been torture, there's always been death, and like you got to remember, these guys were hard. Like these guys were tough people. Not all of them. Like you'd get for stealing a loaf of bread, you were sent over, because they used to send them to Maryland and somewhere else. You know, and initially they used to send them to the States, and the States were like, "Can you stop sending your damn prisoners here?" So they're like, "All right, we got to find somewhere else." And there was a higher number that actually didn't make it down here because the boats were crap. You know, the boats were made out of, I think they were just rafts essentially. You know, like the worst of the worst boats. So if they made it, they would make it down here. Like, you know, they actually brought them on as prisoners on proper ships, but you know, they made the convicts build the roads, build the jails to put them in, um, and eventually they, you know, let convicts, you know, be free, the ones who are harder working. But like, my partner and I have actually done one of the historic jails here, Fremantle Prison, not, you know, nighttime tours and stuff, and like, you know, I mean, you don't need to see any entities or ghosts, even though there are plenty people have reported, to just feel the death, you know, and the, you
Yeah.
know, the stench. You know, you just can't get rid of it, even all these years later. It was a hard time, man. But you know, it's a chill place now. Like it's been difficult, but it's come a long way since then.
When life gives you lemons.
Like, exactly right. It's a classic example of that.
No, that's awesome though. Like it's such a crazy origin story. Like to figure, you know, to see that somewhere that's become such a tourist attraction. You know, everyone wants to go to Australia. That, you know, it started as such a, you know, not cursed place, but somewhere that wasn't, you know, you send your worst, and now it's just the best.
Yeah. So, just so you guys remember, when you get asked if you have a criminal record prior to coming to Australia,
Mhm.
you have to tell them, you have to ask them, is that still required?
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Just giving you, they probably won't like it, but
No, that's a good answer, man.
Clarina said, "I never want to go there." Like I said earlier, I've always wanted to go there, and then people are like, "No, you don't want to go there. Like the spiders are huge. Like there's so many things trying to kill you." But man, it just seems worth it. It just seems like a really cool time. But
you'll have a bunch of fun.
I have seen pictures of like a giant spider behind a clock. Have you seen that viral image? Like it's pretty old. Like, are spiders really that big down there?
I'm not sure of the photo you're talking about, but generally the bigger they are, the less dangerous they are.
Yeah, I've seen some that are pretty bad. I'll have to see if I can find the picture. But it's rough.
What we get commonly, this actually throws a lot of people off. We get what's called a huntsman spider, but they love coming inside your house and they jump. They get quite big. I've seen them get as big as a small plate, you know, fully stretched out. They're little brown. They're brown. Well, they're not little, but they're little to me. But they're brown spiders, and they love jumping, and they can jump quite far. So like they come in. You probably get, I don't know. I can't remember how much my partner gets in, but like she'll get them in every, I don't know, like 5 a week, and they'll just be, you know, on the walls or, you know, wherever, you know, they're just hanging out. So obviously,
So do
I
you
try
try to
not to
kill
kill
them
them.
or let them out the
Well,
door peacefully, or?
see, she's not too keen on spiders. Neither is her dad or anyone, or the kids. But I oh wow, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a huntsman. Yeah,
oh, it is. So that's real.
yeah.
That's not a doctored image.
Well, it yeah, it may not be. I'm just looking at the actual shape of the legs and stuff like that. That one may be real, but yeah, a huntsman is essentially like that. They've got the big bendy legs, and that's the ones that come in your house. So they're not poisonous. They'll just give you a headache if you get bitten. If you know,
Have you
but
been bitten by something crazy?
yeah, no, I've been bitten by a snake, and I've been bitten by a spider, a redback though. So
So do you go
redbacks
to
are the
the
dangerous ones.
hospital or just?
That's a Black Widow, right? Or similar to it.
Yeah, they're very venomous. The snake bite, I had to get a shot for, just, yeah, like I guess an anti-venom, just to be on the safe side, because I wasn't sure what snake it was, what type of
Yeah.
snake. I just felt the bust and then he slid off. And then the redback, I was a child, so yeah, I had to get a shot for that. What was happening is I didn't know much about spiders back then, and both my parents both being foreigners, they yeah, like, I don't know, I was playing with something, you know, the swing outside, and I just thought it'd be a cool idea to play around with this little black thing I found. not knowing, because I was fearless back then, I was playing with a spider, and obviously he bit my palm, and I was crying, and they're like, "Oh crap," and just to be on the safe side. Yeah. Luckily, I made it through that, but yeah. Someone was saying in the chat, a king brown. I don't think it was a king brown. I think it was a dugite, so it wasn't so bad. But dugites are the common snakes we get here. Around my place anyway, in WA. I don't know how poisonous they are, but I know you need to. I think you need to get. No, they are lethal. You need to get a shot, but I believe it was a dugite that got me. They're a little. They get big, but these guys are pretty sneaky. They always say don't go near the snakes and the snake won't affect you, but like no, it's not true. When they want water, they'll go looking for water.
That's one of my biggest fears is getting bit by a snake. Like I like snakes. I like watching them like, from behind glass. But it's something about their fangs. Like just the thought of getting, penetrated by a snake.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's the best word I could have thought of. But yeah, it's just something, I don't know, it freaks me out. I think I've been bitten by a spider. It wasn't anything venomous. Yeah. But snakes. Yeah. And like I really like spiders too. Like I like anything.
I like spiders, yeah.
I just don't like them where I'm sleeping. Like it's
that's fair enough.
In their own habitat, that's great. Snakes, that's great, but don't come inside my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, around here, spiders wise, we have black widows, brown recluses. They're really bad. But that's about the only real big threat as far as spiders. Snakes, we have cottonmouths and rattlesnakes. We don't have them very often, though, at least where we live. I'm sorry, not rattlesnakes, water moccasins. Copperheads, water moccasins.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have to worry about them. I would say the average person where we live sees like 2 snakes a year. So how many snakes do you see a year?
Oh, I can't count them on 2 hands.
Oh man.
My backyard alone, because I'm across the road from, I guess, a river with like bush. So we get all of them. So we get, what's very common in the yard is bobtails. So bobtails are a pretty mellow lizard, and they're not too big. They're a little, probably like I don't know, like half a foot long, blue-tongued lizards, and they just cruise around. They're all cold-blooded, so they just sit in the sun, and you see them around. You're like, oh, hey, how you going? I used to keep them as pets. But with the snakes, what happens is in spring you'll be doing your cleanup or whatever, and they'll just hatch from the backyard or front yard or wherever, or across the road, and then they'll just litter them around. So like I used to go walking in the nature path across the road, but I've given up because you'll just be running, and then there'll be like 3 coiled up on the sides, and it's like just sitting in the sun. It's like, nah, it's too hard. It's just too hard. I just can't be bothered.
Yeah,
but that's just where I live. Like there's a lot of bush and trees and stuff around. So
do you get snakes in your house, like the spiders, or like what's the craziest stuff you find in your home?
I haven't gotten any snakes in our home, but it's very common. People report to get carpet pythons in their house. So they'll be vacuuming and all that kind of stuff, and they'll get carpet pythons. Now, apparently they're not dangerous. Now, I don't know, but I've never gotten that. But everyone, like like over the years, gone, oh yeah, just found a carpet python while I was vacuuming under the bed, or whatever the case is. And it's like, apparently they're not dangerous though, because they're pythons. All they'll do is strangle you to death if they get the chance. But but so they're okay. Pythons are good. It's when they're not pythons,
Pythons are good. It's fine. They just strangle you to death.
It's the lesser of 2 evils.
Thing to say.
I mean, you tell us Australia is great, and then you just confirm all our fears about Australia at the same time, man.
You just, I don't know. It's like, it's not that bad. Like if you just I guess it's more like you've got to make sure that the place is clean. That's all. If you have a cluttered house, you're going to guarantee that you've probably got a snake in your house or something. Like, I don't know. Like, keep your house clean. You'll be right. Get rid of all that clutter.
If you find a snake in your house around us, it's a big deal. It'll make the news probably. It's like, oh my god, how did this happen?
How did this happen?
Well, I was going to say, we don't have the situational awareness to survive this scenario.
The thing is, you know how you were saying, you bunch Australia and New Zealand together. New Zealand has no snakes.
Really?
Yeah, they
The
have no
promised
snakes. So
land.
the promised land. So it's probably because it's so freaking cold that the snakes are like, nope, we're moving back to Australia. But yeah, it's pretty messed up.
That's crazy. Amy only said I was bit by a brown recluse and I still have the scar on my left butt cheek to prove it if you don't believe me. Pixar, it didn't happen. But no, I've seen, like, I did a project on brown recluses in like 8th grade and just like showing, like, there's the popular image of like a hand and its stages of like days after you were bit. Man, it's no joke. Like, it deteriorates your tissue. It's insane. But the bad thing is they're very common around here. Like, they're not very big. I think they said they're about the size of a quarter, but they're very venomous. And if you get bit, it's almost like a brown. I mean, it's almost like a black widow. I think black widows are more deadly, but these will just ruin you.
Yeah,
And
the redbacks are the same.
I've actually, speaking of redbacks, I've been watching it. I've been watching a channel for a while. It's this random Aussie, and he talks about redbacks. Like, he has redbacks and he puts them in like a container with other deadly like other deadly insects or arachnids. But I think he got in trouble with YouTube because it was animal violence, but it's very interesting. I can't remember his name, but it's on there if you guys decide to venture down that path. Gregory Johnson said, since the hurricane and flooding, nothing but snakes and all critters getting away from the rising waters.
Yeah, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, I saw an article. I felt like it was satirical, whatever. I'm drunk, but it was talking about how snakes were being displaced because of the hurricane. I think it was on our Discord actually. They were saying the snakes were being, pushed into areas that they're not native to because of the hurricane, and all that could come to mind was like, Sharknado. It's like, now we got snake cane. But I can just imagine a tornado of snakes. Ugh.
Oh, that reminded me of something I was watching quite a few years ago, actually, when HD just became a thing here. About a lot of down in Florida, apparently, what people have been throwing their pet pythons and stuff out in the swamps, and now the alligators now have another predator, and it started off when I think like 2 pythons or 2 alligators and a python were found mangled in each other, like they were found dead, but apparently like one alligator tried to save the other alligator from a python, and I don't know, it was pretty messed up.
I saw that picture.
I see
that picture. Yeah, I saw that on the internet. Me and my uncle were like looking at it one night and talking about it. It's a pretty crazy picture.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of like pythons or whatever actually eating alligators. But like there was one video a long time ago where I guess it was a python, it actually exploded because it couldn't actually contain the alligator. But yeah, I know of a lot of people. I know that has been an issue with people releasing, snakes that they had as pets and they got too big, and they released them into the wild, and it's bad, man.
It's like it just destroys the ecosystem.
It's like you have to worry about snake. I mean, you have to worry about alligators now. You have to worry about snakes too. But
yeah, that's crazy. But unfortunately, it's what it is now.
Yeah, I was gonna say the creepypasta of like the pet snake that starts growing and you don't know why it's growing. You get excited though because it's your favorite pet, but then it turns out when you take it to the vet, it's growing like so big because it wants to eat you. So
yeah.
Gregory said pythons and boas are serious invasive species. And Rebecca said, don't get me started on invasive species, fucking people.
yeah.
People are very, very invasive species.
Humanity.
Yeah.
All right. You guys want to read the Unsolved Mysteries? Who wants to read the UFO one? That also happened in Melbourne, like the Valentech disappearance.
I can go if you like.
All right, go for it. It happened in your country.
Yeah. Well, 3 did, but anyway.
Continent. Oh yeah, so they actually all did. Damn, I'm retarded. That was a struggle. That was a really big struggle.
This one happened in my country. The other 2, don't worry about them.
Yeah.
All right, so we're reading the Valentech one, right?
Yeah. Right. The UFO, the Westall. How do you say that?
All right. All right. So I'll start off at 11 a.m. on April 6th, 1966. A class of students and a teacher from Westall High School were outside when an object described as being a grey saucer-shaped craft with a slight purple hue and being about twice the size of a family car was alleged to have been seen. According to witnesses, the object was descending and then crossed and overflew the high school's southwest corner, going in a southeasterly direction before disappearing from sight as it descended, being behind a stand of trees and into a padlock at the Grange in front of the Westall State School, which is where the primary students are at. After 20 minutes, the object with witnesses, now numbering over 200, then climbed at speed and departed. As the object gained altitude, some accounts describe it as having been pursued from the scene by 5 unidentified aircraft, which circled the object. Sorry, beg your pardon. Men in uniforms showed up to take soil samples and investigate. They interrogated the witnesses and set an area nearby on fire to eliminate evidence of a possible UFO landing. The government tried to say it was a light expert.
Light aircraft. Sorry, I left the word out. Light aircraft by
I beg your
experts.
pardon.
Sorry, I wrote this really fast because this happened at 6 o'clock, and I was like, "Oh man, we're doing this at 7."
That's
I'm
okay.
struggling.
I thought I needed more coffee. But witnesses said it was definitely not a normal human craft. And this much you want to know about. Recent government documents show that it may have been a government weather balloon test. So was it a government cover-up or some kind of non-human spacecraft?
I feel like government weather balloon is like the go-to excuse. Like I know I've heard that a few times. It's like,
Or
it
swamp
wasn't
gas.
it wasn't UFO. It was swamp gas, or it was a weather balloon. Yeah, it's getting old. Government, come up with something new.
Yeah, that one was always a bit of a mystery. I remember I think we're talking in science class in high school, not about this particular thing, but about, I guess, all coming back to, I don't know, like covering things up and whatnot. And yeah, like, I think they're trying to protect us from something or not let us know about something as much as any other country, trying to cover up UFO incidents. So yeah, that one, especially with 200 witnesses, and then the cover up or the work that they did after that with the soil samples and the burning of things. I mean, especially to burn things in Melbourne, like that's a pretty big deal. That's a really densely populated area with, you know, a very prominent sort of, I guess, culture. That's a very specific thing to do. Like you wouldn't just do that. If someone lit a fire in your city, you'd be like, what's going on?
Definitely. Here's a random conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that the government is hiding it because it would disprove so many religions if aliens were real? And that would cause a lot of people to go into, madness or mayhem. Maybe they think that the world would be worse off if they didn't have their religions. This is drunk thoughts from Blake.
For me, I think it could be a possibility, but in seeing the way the world's been going, and atheism, I guess, being more and more prominent, I suppose. In this day and age, is it, something they would still want to maintain? Is it something that they still feel they should?
I forget sometimes that other places are more, atheistic than where we are. We kind of live in the self-proclaimed Bible Belt. So
Yep.
around me, being an atheist is a very uncommon thing. But I know that in England, it's a growing trend. So
yeah, Europe. Usually, Europe trends start in Europe, and then they eventually cross over to America. Really slow the switch over.
So I think, I mean, I was raised Catholic, but we were very, I guess the country as a whole is still quite religious, to that aspect. But I guess for me, I just like our government's pulled away from religion, if that makes sense. So like, they've taken scripture and all that out of school, and it's up to you if you want to educate your children with religion. Now it's not, you can take them to private Catholic schools or Baptist schools or whatever you choose to do and have religion as part of that. but it's not a requirement. It's not something that's pushed like it was when I was growing up. I guess you know, I always wondered if it was more to the amount of fear it would create. You know, like us as a society, like what do we do? Who's going to protect us? If we don't know about it, the government doesn't have to answer these questions.
Yeah.
It's definitely true, because I mean, if there is something, extraterrestrial that's visiting us, that alone makes it much more advanced than we are. Because the fact that they were actually able to get to us. So, I mean, it could create fear, especially since all of our horror movies involving aliens usually depict, global destruction.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like if there is anything, there is something out there. I don't know if anything's visited us. I think it's stupid to think there's not more intelligent life forms out there. But I don't know. I think that we as a society aren't ready to find out if there is something out there, because we think we're in control. We're not. Like, we think, as the United States, for an example, it's like we think that that we're on top of the world, that we have enough technology to keep us safe from anything. We as a country couldn't handle knowing that there's some kind of force out there that's more technologically advanced than us. So that's my opinion.
I was going to say like Japan, but they're still here.
Yeah.
They're not alien.
Japan's our best chance against anything extraterrestrial. If anyone's going to have some weird shit, it's going to be Japan.
I think the government is. I don't like the idea that there is contact that's been out there, because that seems really far-fetched. But the whole idea, the conspiracy theory that we are being, like, there's a lot more government released videos, people coming forward more openly about aliens and stuff, and the Navy's releasing stuff that, they are trying to desensitize the population to the idea of aliens. There's even the whole conspiracy theory that, like, even the movie Independence Day was a propaganda film to put into your head that the aliens are out there and we might have to fight them one day. So I don't know.
Watch that movie. It was kind of a bad movie. Like,
yeah, but we won in the end. I mean,
I know in the end, but like, did you see all the shit that went down? Like that movie affected me as a kid. I thought it was much more of a horror movie than it. I guess it is a horror movie, but like when I was a kid, that really scared me. I was like, oh man, the thought that something could come in and just wipe out all of our monuments and stuff like that. For some reason, that was what I was worried about. That's like, I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I would rather have the ET aliens than the Independence Day aliens or the War of the Worlds aliens.
Yeah, the friendly ones. I want to go home.
Yeah, let's just take them home. The War of the World aliens really messed me up when I saw it.
Yeah,
just vaporizing humans. It's like, oh fuck, what do we do about that?
And they couldn't find someone more appropriate than Tom Cruise to play that role.
Yeah, man, he's the best our humanity has to offer. Yeah. Like, this is our savior, Tom. All 5'2" of him. He is a clean specimen of our species.
Yeah, this man is so passionate. He jumps on couches.
Glorina said, "Cloverfield in the fourth kind." Cloverfield would be awful. I love Cloverfield, but that would be a bad time. Oh man.
I think the fourth kind is a great movie. Like, either way, you haven't. It's like a found footage thing. And I had a friend that was so convinced that it was real, and he watched it like twice. He watched it with me, and then he watched it again, and he was obsessed with it.
Are you talking? Maybe. Oh wait, the fourth kind. I'm getting that confused.
It happened in Alaska. Like, they think it might have been owls, but
I was thinking Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's the fourth kind.
Yeah. Oh, that movie was awesome. I remember the mashed potatoes still.
That's also
building the mountain out of the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, another conspiracy theory is that Spielberg is literally paid by the government to make alien films. So like E.T. and then like
Super 8.
Yeah, like all of that was paid for by the government to like introduce the whole idea of aliens to the general population. So
well, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question: in your lifetime, do you want aliens to make contact? Not knowing whether they're going to be good or bad.
Hell yeah.
Because I mean, if they're anything like us, I would assume. Hopefully, they're not like us. Because if they're anything like us, they're here to take our resources.
Our jobs.
It's like, for some reason, the aliens are invading Iraq. I don't get it.
They're taking the Afghanistan poppy seeds. Oh no.
But yeah, like I want it to happen, but I also, as long as they're good. If they're bad, it's just like, man, that sucks.
Yeah, I would. Um, I guess there is a risk that it's going to be bad, but look, if they wanted to do something with us, they would have by now. That's how I see it.
There's a theory I heard way back in the day. It might have been Ethan that told me. I can't remember. But it was saying that aliens were afraid to make contact because they saw what we did to our own people. You know, dropping bombs on our own, other humans.
Yeah.
It's like, what would
Like,
we do?
Walk
Like
past that group of thugs.
like these people aren't mature enough yet. It's like we're just going to give them a couple millennia to kind of figure stuff out.
I've heard that same theory. I was actually having a conversation with my brother, going, okay, like we've claimed that we've seen, they've claimed that we've seen alien life, astronauts and people in general, right? And it's like, so why don't we see more? Like, why is it that we aren't seeing more if the universe is full of these other life forces? And he goes, well, we're on the boonies in reality. So yeah, they might be keeping an eye on us, send a drive-by, just check up that we're still here and okay. But at the end of the day, we're in the boonies, so they're not fussed.
The Earth is the Australia of the universe.
It's like Tasmania. It's even worse than that.
We'll go there on vacation every now and then, but for the most part, we're just going to let it do its own thing.
Unless you're Ethan and it's too far away. You can't be bothered flying.
Man, we gotta fly so many light years to get there. Yeah, there's a beach, but it's so far away. Maybe Earth is Australia.
Maybe.
Oh man.
Or the Milky Way is the Australian continent, Papua New Guinea, and all of that.
Swamp said, "Mr. Reality back at it again with them market deals, boys."
Oh yeah, Mr. Realty. No, Mr. Realty.
Oh, I thought he just. Oh yeah, that makes.
I sell property for a job.
Oh, do you?
No, I don't.
Because we need some real estate
there.
Mr. Realty. That's how he reads it sometimes.
That's like, we need to get to Australia. Glorina said if aliens do exist, they'd have advanced technology that we will never be able to detect their existence.
That's very true. That's a very good point.
They're like, man, they fucking invented cell phones. Now we got to get invisibility.
Damn, they got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Crap.
Catching up.
4G. All right. Damn.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anything that you would consider a UFO, something that didn't seem right or didn't seem like a plane?
I saw something. I actually called my partner on the way home. It was actually coming back from her place. I was driving down the highway because we live about 20 minutes apart, and I actually called her up. And I don't know if she remembers this, but my voice, you could hear the scared thing in my voice. I don't know if she remembers this, but I called her up as it was happening. I was driving home. It was pitch black at night, and I saw this I thought it was the sun that came out. It was literally this ball of light that suddenly appeared, like, I mean, it wasn't even that high off the ground. Like, it was still in the sky, but it was like literally like you could see the hills in the back, and that thing was just above that. And I was like, wow, the moon's a bit low, but I was looking at it and it was just flashing, and then it was just sitting there hovering, and I was like, what's going on? I just wish I had, could take my phone out and record it, because that's how crazy this thing was. It was massive. It lit up that area. Like, I could see the glow on the ground on top of the treetops. And I called her up saying, just explaining what was going on. She was like, oh, okay. This guy's probably just tired, because obviously she couldn't see it. And then as soon as I started talking about it, just disappeared. Like, I was watching it for a good few minutes coming down the highway, and then I was like, oh, I better give her a call, let her know what I'm seeing, and to see if she could see it too from where she was. And yeah, and then it just turned, like, as soon as I started talking about it, it's like it just turned off.
That's interesting. Like, I had a similar experience. I don't talk about it much because of the circumstances. But I was taking a shit one time, and there was a window. And I was just looking out the window because this was before I had a cell phone. I was young, and I was just like, that's a weird looking plane. And then I looked away, and I looked back, and it was gone. But, like, not in the time that it should have been able to disappear. Like it was like, all right, so the tree line is here, the plane is here. I look away for a second, and I look back, and it's gone. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that wasn't a plane.
Like, what was that? What's going on? But yeah, like I've never had any like, oh, that's definitely UFO experiences, but I've had a lot of where did that plane
questionable.
go?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Clarina said, then you looked in the toilet. Oh my god, aliens. They look like ET.
Yeah, she also said comment. Has anyone ever seen a comet? Have you guys looked at a comet before?
I've seen a lot of shooting stars. I don't know about comets. I
Shooting
missed
stars for me.
I missed Haley's comet. Apparently, I got to wait
I
a
saw
while.
Haley's comet as a kid.
Fuck you,
So-
man. I wanted to
No,
see
I
it
was
so
gonna say-
bad, and I missed it. And
No,
I was
I was
like,
gonna
well, when's the next one coming around? Oh, 70 some years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've also seen a meteor shower too, but it's
have
very,
seen
it's very, it's not, it doesn't look like an UFO. Like it's very lackluster. I've also seen the space station go by. I've never realized all three of those things at once before, but yeah, all of those things are, except for the meteor shower, very boring. So like the comet is literally like a light in the sky just going across very slow. And
Yeah.
I mean, it could look like a plane unless you knew what you were looking for and were like specifically searching for it. Same thing with the space station. It went by a little bit faster because it was like orbiting the Earth. And then the meteor shower was crazy, but it was still like it was like a light show. And I don't know. See, she saw Haley's comet. I don't think what you saw, Mr. Reality, would be a comet. I'm thinking maybe it was a meteor, but
Well,
It
if
just
that's
didn't fall or
meteors-
anything, you know. It just hovered in midair and then just turned off. Like I didn't see
Yeah.
it drop.
Yeah, meteors are so quick though.
yeah, I mean, you see it shoot across the sky. I don't
It's
know.
like
That's
a second or two tops. So I mean, if it lasted longer than a couple seconds, then it wasn't a meteor. Not that I would think, unless that meteor was very close to where you were.
Yeah. No, this thing was definitely hovering. Like it was like it was like someone. It was literally like like a miniature sun had like just someone created like a floating sun or something like that, and then yeah, just like they just turned the light off or something like that. It was just crazy and it was bright, you know.
Are you
Yeah,
familiar with lightning bugs?
No.
It was just flying around me, like it was just right in front of my face. It was just gone. Then it continued right over there. No, no, that's actually really weird though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen shooting stars. I've never seen anything, show up for a prolonged amount of time and then disappear.
my uncle had a experience on his family. Like they were working outside their farm, or whatever, as a kid, and they had a ball of light appear above them and just hover above the field. And he just kept looking up at it and said he was like super fascinated by it, while everyone else was scared of it. And he was convinced that it was a UFO, an alien. And ever since he's been like he's the first person I met that was like a really hardcore, like he believes in paranormal stuff, but he was also like a hardcore atheist. He would always point back to like, oh, when I was a kid, I had an alien like spacecraft above me. And he super believes it. And the way he talks about it is really interesting. But he describes it just like a light just hanging there before just like shooting off. So, and it hung there for a while, not just like a brief minute.
I mean, in theory, if aliens had the technology to reach us, why would they send them, come in on a ship? Why wouldn't they send like some kind of drone or some kind of spying device, Could be what that is,
It could be a bunch of teenage aliens. Like, we're going to go hang out here. Watch
Let's go tip some humans.
Yeah.
You never know.
man.
I mean, if I was an alien, I mean, we are probably cows to them. I mean, listen to any like abduction stories were basically just experimental specimens.
He's just livestock.
Yeah. Gene said, "Sorry guys, time for me to go. Where I am is very later. I'm sorry, I'm a little intoxicated, and I haven't slept for months. Holy, you gotta go to sleep."
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming by, Gene. We appreciate it. Swamp says he's out of here. Have a good night. My strange brother, uncle wives, hit me up when them Aussie real estate deals reality with them. Yeah, definitely.
You guys have sweet dreams. Live long and prosper.
Bye,
Get some
bye,
sweet deals on real estate.
Yeah.
Back.
It's almost been 2 hours.
Yeah. We still have 2 more mysteries to go through.
Do you want me to read the next mystery?
Yeah, you can. How do you say? Is it Holt? Harold Holt?
Yeah, Holt. Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's see. All right, guys, I'm going to struggle, so try not to make fun of me too much.
I wrote it real fast, so if there's any mistakes, I'm sorry.
I'm going to read it as it is.
All right.
All right. So, the Australian Prime Minister disappearance conspiracy. Harold Holt was the 17th Prime Minister of Australia and was in office from 1966 until his presumed drowning death in 1967. On December 17th, 1967, Holt, he, and 4 companions stopped at a remote beach for a swim before lunch. He had spearfished at the beach many times before and claimed to know the area like the back of his hand. Because of the rough conditions, only one other person, Alan Stewart, joined Holt in the water. Stewart kept close to the shore, but Holt swam out deeper into the water and was seemingly caught up in a riptide, eventually disappearing from view and was never seen again. Holt's disappearance sparked one of the largest search operations in Australian history, but no trace of his body was ever found. A police report released in early 1968 made no definitive findings about Holt's death, while a coronial inquest in 2005 returned a verdict of accidental drowning. It is generally accepted that Holt overestimated his swimming ability, yet there are numerous conspiracies surrounding his disappearance. British journalist Anthony Gray suggested that the Prime Minister was a spy and he was picked off by a submarine so he could deflect to China. Some believe he was assassinated by the CIA, committed suicide, or even faked his death to escape his life with one of his many lovers. He was a known womanizer who frequently had extramarital affairs. Finally, there is one theory that he was picked up by an underwater UFO vessel. What do you think? Is it always aliens? It's aliens. I don't know, that Riptide sucks, man. Like,
Yeah. The
Swim
thing about
sideways.
riptides is,
yeah,
I was going to say the
Go
thing
for it.
about these is you will usually when you die from drowning or anything like that, even if it's a riptide, they always find your body. That's the one thing we can count on is your body's going to wash back up, or you can be found. So if it was a drowning, especially where he was, his body wouldn't have disappeared indefinitely. So that's what makes it a lot more mysterious. The thing with Harold Holt as well was he was a lot more. He changed Australia for what it was. So the reason why there's a lot of conspiracy around him is because of he made it so that the Aboriginal people became people. Prior to that, they were considered fauna. So that means you could legally get a license and hunt them back when guns were illegal in Australia. So they were like, yeah, that was the reality of the situation. And that was during the Stolen Generation time as well. So he abolished the White Australia policy. He did that. And he also, when the US entered into the Vietnam War, we obviously he signed to say, "Yep, we'll come with you," and he sent 6,000 troops, which created a massive uproar here at home because, as Australia, we're obliged to help out the US since World War II, but that doesn't mean that Australians in general wanted to participate in the war. So there was a lot of conspiracy that followed him because of those changes. So the White Australia policy was basically if you were a foreigner and you moved to Australia, you had to change your name to sound more European. You had to basically give up your identity if you were from a foreign country. So my mum had to go through the White Australia policy where they had to change the name, not necessarily change the religion, but it was hard to practice it here back in the 70s anyway. There was nothing around, but they wanted you to be white, basically. They wanted to make people white. That was the reality of Australia back then. And the Stolen Generation, so what they were doing is they were taking, I guess, the Aboriginal children and, making them Catholic, basically, and basically, raise them to be gentlemen or women with, education and whatnot, and basically breed out the Aboriginal and make them all white. That was the reality of what Australia was. So he actually put an end to a lot of those things. His policies are what changed the country to make it what it is today. So that's, I guess, a big reason why it's just we don't know what's happened to him, but his legacy lives on with what we are today.
That's really interesting. Like read about this case a whole lot, but never knew that kind of context behind it. It almost kind of reminds me of like JFK. Like he made a lot of. I mean, he was only prime minister from 66 to 67, being made a big difference. Kind of like how JFK wasn't president for long, but he left like an impact where he's one of the most popular presidents. Um, so where did your parents come from? Like, what was that like getting over to? How did they end up in Australia?
Okay, so my mum's side came through from Singapore, so she was born in Singapore, and that was British territory at the time. So with the British Empire, I suppose, even though Australia was technically, um, independent, so to speak, they're still under the British monarchy, but Singapore was getting crowded and pretty crazy at that point. Um, so my granddad wanted them to have a better life, so they moved to Australia because he was a surgeon. So he moved them over. As he could already get work here. The thing is, if you have a profession that can benefit the country, like I guess like anywhere really, um, you've got some sort of chance in a better chance to migrate. So he wanted a better life for my family. Singapore at that point was when they still had houses. So my mum's family lived in a house in Singapore, but they knew that was changing. The houses were getting knocked down. It was getting dense. The situation back in Singapore with the Muslims fighting with the Chinese and the Indians, the religious wars that they were having and the deaths and the murders and stuff that they were having in the streets. It was getting pretty crazy in Singapore at the time. So to keep them safe, he wanted to relocate his family to Australia, but they changed their obviously had to change their name and who they were basically. My dad came from Poland, from communist Poland in the 80s. So we had a period for about 15 years, I think, where the Australian government made a deal with Poland to allow Polish people to come in because it was just a deal that they had going on. They brought in a few and they were like, oh, these guys are really hardworking. We'll let them come in for the next 10 years. And he was one of those that came in, one of those people that came in. But there's a pretty prominent, I guess, Polish community here as well as Italian. Everyone's come in waves at different point. The Italians first, then the Chinese, then at the 80s was the Polish. Now it's the Sudanese, Somalians. But it's just the sake of refuge.
Yeah. So did your parents meet in Australia?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so that's how they met. So two opposite. It's pretty crazy because when you think about it, my mum being Indian on her side, and my dad being Polish, they were still technically influenced by the British Empire at the end of the day. So to me, it was like people go, "Oh, they're so different." It's like, well, no, not really. When you think about, the British Empire in general and what it had under it, it took over India, it helped rebuild Poland. It's actually quite fitting, to be honest. And it happened in Australia.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. So, like, Australia is a Commonwealth nation. Like, how does that actually work? Like with other nations, like you talked about, like Britain. And so, do you guys still like really like the Queen and all of that? Like, how do you fit in? Or, like, how do you feel like politically? Like, does that get brought up often?
It does. It actually does. Like for us, I relate my state WA to Texas,
Yeah.
in terms of the resources we've got, you know the, I guess there's the sheer size and the climate and everything alone, but also I find that like Texans, WA people are quite proud of where they come from. I mean, everyone is at the end of the day, but we ourselves want to be split off from the rest of Australia. Oh, I do anyway.
Yeah.
A good chunk of us want to, just because we get ripped off by the government, the federal government. Um, well, everyone comes here to take the resources and the jobs and the housing creates problems for us here, and then they go back over east, and it kind of screws our economy up a bit. But it's starting to balance out now. But at the end of the day, that's just our own little internal, I guess, struggle. But as a nation, yeah, so we still are under the United Kingdom in terms of monarchy. So Queen Elizabeth is our queen. She's on all the dollars and all the cents. Um, it's We don't know why. Like I don't know why. um, we've seeked independence before. We've done referendums, but everyone ends up wanting to stay, and I don't know if that's because it's a tradition But I mean, like, it doesn't really add anything. Like, we can't go live in the UK. We can't just go move there and just be like, yo, I want to live here for a bit. And the same thing with UK citizens. UK citizens, they can't just come live here. There's no, it's not any easier for an American than a person from the United Kingdom to
Yeah,
come and live here. There's still,
it's not
so there's
like
no
the
benefit.
European Union. It's not like
No,
being a
it's not like the
Commonwealth
European Union.
country. You get like a Commonwealth passport where you can go to any other.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a strong passport. The Australian passport is one of the strongest in the world, but
yeah,
it doesn't mean, and we have like, I didn't realize how many requirements there were for some other countries, or a lot of other countries other than the States, yourself, and, maybe Canada and stuff like that, where they need to apply to go to visit somewhere. Like,
yeah,
that's messed up. Like, I just rock up. Like, 60 days, 90 days, yeah, I'll be gone in 10, but some people need to apply to, to say, hey, can I stop in for a stopover to go to, you know, Dubai or something like that. Like, that's messed up,
Yeah, I always heard that
you
you
know.
had to actually have a job in Australia to stay at this point.
But
Yeah.
you just gotta visit, man. You can't just like it's the Dave's rule supposedly. Like anywhere, well, with like an American passport, usually you can go anywhere within a
Yeah.
month or two, and as long as you're going to be gone and don't like piss off a customs official when you're talking to them,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as like people coming in your country, have you ever thought about building a wall?
oh yeah, or a
Oh,
moat
I know
like an
about this
ocean
wall that
around
the
it.
Mexicans are going to pay for. Well, I mean, we're
We'll
pretty well
make
protected.
Antarctica pay for it.
The good thing is, because we're essentially, we've got no other countries to share land with. We don't have to worry about that. Um, people were coming in via boats from, Indonesia and wherever else. But the thing is, by the time they eventually get close, we can see them rocking up, and the Navy boats stop up and like, yo, where you going?
Hey, stop. Hey, I see you. I see you. Hey, stop.
Our boats are obviously a lot faster, and like, you can't do that. And I guess the refugee process is, they were sent to Nauru, which is, I guess, in the Polynesian, I guess, area, there. So Nauru was one island that they were sent to. Christmas Island, which is closer to Indonesia, but it's still under my state's power. Um, that's like another refugee sort of location, like where they generally like quarantine them, so to speak. That's a terrible way to think about it, but um, and now we're actually sending them to Papua New Guinea. So it's dumb, but we're stopping the boats from coming, so to speak, but we're redirecting the people to Papua New Guinea at our cost, and we're housing them, and we're looking after them, and we're paying the Papua New Guinea government to take care of them. So it's like,
Mm.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
It's so it's this that so we don't need a wall. We've just got a big ocean, but I guess the Australian government takes responsibility of them. It's just we can't have them on the mainland because it creates a lot of issues already. It's a very specific, very sensitive ecosystem and sensitive economy. So the minute you add like 1,000 people, to each city, um, it can potentially bankrupt us, basically.
Yeah, it sucks because you don't have enough natural predators. Like the spiders can only eat so many people. It's like, what are we gonna do? Like, we don't have enough snakes for this.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
No, that's similar to what we're going through, though. I mean, we have this whole, uh, when we're actually, I guess we're inhumanely housing people that try to cross the border, and it's like, it's costing us a lot of money as a country. But
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
immigration in America is a non-issue. They try to push it to distract people from what's really going on. I think it's a conspiracy in itself. Because if you look at the idea of the states, hold on, man, I can't think of the word, man. Whatever. The states are some states. Whatever. I can't think of it. Where they're like, you can't come in here. Whatever. California said that they'd welcome any immigrants. Immigration was a real problem. You'd have states saying, like, we don't want immigrants. You'd have a lot of states uprising about it. It wouldn't just be people on Fox News complaining about immigrants. It's literally just a non-issue. But what do you think, like Australia? Like, have you visited other places? Like, where else would you want to live, or are you
Yeah.
happy where you're at?
So I've been to Singapore a few times. I've been to Europe to go, see my dad's family back in Poland and obviously in Germany as well. I was dating a Dutch girl, so I was in Holland a fair bit.
Nice.
Um, that was many, many, many moons ago. But
But still, it's cool. Like Holland's really cool. I've been to the Netherlands, so
yeah, it's one of my favorite countries to go to be honest. Like I, learned to speak Dutch,
damn.
German, and I've forgotten my Polish, but um, for me, it's a second home because that's how often I was there. And I mean, I'm not Dutch whatsoever, but even though we've moved on from each other years and years ago, it's still a second home. It's just still a comfort. Like I can go back, look at a map, and go, oh, look, they've updated, this street to have streetlights now. Oh, I don't know, just as an example, right? Like you still check back on it to see what's going on, and I'd love to go back. So Europe, I've been throughout Asia. It's actually quite common for everyone to go to Bali. Bali over here, it's like the most popular, touristy location in Indonesia.
So how
I've been
nice
to
is Bali?
yeah,
Like I hear YouTubers talk about it all the time.
Bali.
Have you been to it?
Bali, I I haven't
Okay,
because it's like I don't know. It's what's the most common place Americans would fly to? Like that's not American territory, but like it's the cheapest,
Cancun.
nastiest.
Yeah,
Okay,
Cancun.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
Cancun,
it's
Mexico.
yeah. I think that would be similar to that. It's like everything's cheap. You can get five-star hotel for like $20. I don't know. It's like the whole kit and caboodle. It's that basically.
They
You
make it
get
sound
knockoff
like it's like
DVDs.
they make it sound like it's the best place to travel. Like you'll find yourself, discover yourself, and everyone
Oh god,
goes there.
you find
Okay.
bloody. You get upset stomach for like a week and shit your pants. To be honest, but
No, but it makes me always want to go there because I mean I've watched a lot of videos about it. Never been like the whole flying issue. Like it's a long ways for us, so it's like the whole struggle to get there. Like if I'm going there, it'd literally be like let's hit up Australia, New Zealand, let's just keep island hopping all the way till the end. So make it a big trip. So I don't know.
Bali would definitely be somewhere I'd want to go check out. Like, it's still something I do want to do, but like if I had money, it's not the first on my list.
Yeah. So what was it like going to the Netherlands? How long did it take you to get there and traveling back and forth?
It's it's actually pretty direct. Perth to Europe in general is actually quite reasonable considering. So there's always a stopover in Singapore, or Kuala Lumpur, and then it's direct to Amsterdam, Schiphol Airport. Sorry, I always get that Schiphol Airport. Um,
Yeah.
but it's 5.5 hour flight to Singapore, and then it's a 11 hour and 55 minute flight. It's very exact, 55 minute flight to Amsterdam Airport. Um, and we used to use I used to use Malaysian Airlines, but since the whole MH17 incident, I haven't been
Well, they
back.
haven't had an
But
incident since those two. I mean, come on, everyone has a bad day.
I think that was a third, but anyway, um, I recall a third that they may have happened, but
Really? I,
um,
I didn't know. I only heard
no,
about
no, there
the.
wasn't. There
Okay.
may have been, but look, I would probably fly Qantas there if I was going to do it again, or Singapore Airlines or something, something a little bit more reliable. But no, Amsterdam itself, I mean, it's nice. I haven't done the Anne Frank museum visit, but I do want to do that. That's probably something I feel everyone should do once in their life at least. When in Europe, but it was nice. We actually spent a lot of time north, to be honest, in a town called Groningen, which is Groningen, kind of in English, and that's on the close to the German border. Nice small town. There's lots to do, lots of things to see and everything. Um, but the way Amsterdam look, I mean, Amsterdam's pretty cool. Like in general, it's pretty mellow. Like I thought a bunch of guys were gonna come beat me up one night, bunch of drunk guys, but they're like, oh hey, and they're like tapping me on the shoulder and like, hey, how you going? And they're like, oh, that was a friendly encounter. I was expecting to get stabbed or something and robbed, but it's Holland, so but it's a nice place, but
What do you think
um,
about the drug use there? Did you partake, or what are your thoughts on that?
you've got to be a citizen, as far as
And
I was told. So
Yeah.
my girlfriend at the time could do it, but I couldn't because I didn't have any Dutch ID.
I didn't know you had to be a citizen.
Neither did I. So I've
That's
never done it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it when I was there, but I was only there for like a day and a half. But that's interesting.
Yeah.
But
So
no,
it must have been the place we went to maybe, but they were like, "Do you have any ID?" Yeah.
Mm.
That's not Dutch ID. Oh, okay. Damn.
no, I never heard that before. That's interesting. I just still think it's I don't know, it's interesting. So
It's not
like
what I had learnt from hostel.
yeah. I was gonna
Oh,
say like if you could live somewhere else, where would you live? Would it be Holland or would it be somewhere else?
Um, to be honest, because I mean, I would still live here if I had the option, but
Yeah.
I would. I always wanted to live in Amsterdam. You know, growing up and stuff, but with the whole sinking issue and the below sea level risk.
No, you
I'm gonna
No, look,
warn
as a
you. We had an issue with that in our country. Like being below sea level is not a good time.
no, it's not. I remember this. I remember this quite heavily, and how Bush handled that. But anyway, no, look. But to be very honest with you, as a kid, you know, like I aspire to live in the US because what the rest of the world sees is how amazing America is. And that's just from every single TV show. You know, like I watched professional wrestling as a kid. I still, follow it now. Um, I actually did it, and it's America is one of the places. But to answer your question, probably Tokyo.
I've always wanted to go to Tokyo.
I just
It
think,
just it seems like a really cool time
yeah,
for
exactly.
weird people,
For
which
weird
I am
people,
a weird person.
I like anime
I mean,
and like tech. That's me. So
I think Tokyo could be like life changing. I've never been, but I read Anthony Bourdain's like Kitchen Confidential, like, the book that made him famous. And like if you read that and then you look at the whole Parts Unknown, the TV series, like you
yeah,
almost say like that book inspired it, and it all started with a trip to Tokyo for him.
yeah,
So I would definitely like to go, just experience it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a
be
really
amazing.
surreal time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Lex is here. It's good to have two Australians on
Hey,
the stream.
Lex.
It's good times.
So many Australians. We actually do have a lot of like Australian or like our most dedicated people are Australia and New Zealand because you can see like in your analytics where like the countries people are watching from and like Australia and New Zealand really show up like their watch time and everything. So we really appreciate anyone who's from there.
Yeah, that's just me and Lex refreshing a bunch of times.
I mean that's fine. You guys are killing it.
Alexa, wow, Blake.
We've done some, like some odd Eastern like European countries. We're like, wow, I never would have expected anyone's watching from there, but we
Like
appreciate it.
Chechnya.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah,
You guys are awesome.
yeah.
Spooky said, "Isn't Japan a tiny slight for Aussies?"
Flight. It is.
Oh, flight. Sorry.
It's like less than 11 hours or something like that. I could be mistaken, but um, yeah, it's not long.
Do you ever feel trapped in Australia? Like you're surrounded by water, you're on your own. Like you're kind of like if I imagine like the world could end and like Australia and maybe even New Zealand could be off just like any other day is just it's
Good night,
normal.
mate.
They don't even know what's happened until they hit the internet. So
Yeah, I do because like say I don't know, like I meet a bunch of people from the States, for example, right? And I see like say you're in. I love what you guys do in terms of like yeah, you want to go do something, you go travel to do it. You
yeah,
go travel to meet someone, right? A lot of a lot of Americans go, oh look, yeah, look, I'm dating someone in this state, but you know, it's just
yeah,
online. I'm like, dude, I would be driving over there. I'd be walking over there. You guys like what 100 miles apart. Just go walk over there. Seriously, like for me, I have to spend like 30 hours in a plane one way just to go see someone. So, I when it comes to travel, I do feel so isolated because like I want to go visit New Caledonia, which is an island. So you got New Zealand in the south, and then you got
yeah,
New Caledonia in the north, and they're French. At the end of they're French. They're completely different. And I want to go there, but it's going to cost like $1,600 just to fly there, and we're right next door to them. So, yeah, it does make you feel isolated sometimes. And like even movies, I know it's digital, but like back in the day, when I guess they would have to send the files or whatever they used to do, like you guys would see movies obviously when you saw them, we'd have to wait, quite a while just to receive the same thing. So it's getting better, but in the 90s, that's why America was so glorified because it's like, oh, I wish I could just like be in America or even Canada, and worst case scenario Mexico, because at least I'd get something. I'd be close to the world.
Man, this movie sounds really cool. It's got good reviews. I guess I can't see it though. That
Yeah,
sounds like a really bad time, man.
yeah, it's getting better, but with the internet. But
It's still an issue though. Like, are you guys still delayed?
well, there's only a certain amount of comlinks that come into Australia, and every so often fishermen pull up the lines or something happens and it slows us down to you guys. So
Fisherman
it's still
pulled the
pretty
lines.
shit.
It's like, oh, Jurassic World 2 is in here. You guys want to see Jurassic World 2?
Yeah.
What about just the internet overall, like Amazon and stuff like that? Do you guys like? It's a
Amazon's
different market
just
there. Yeah.
Amazon's always been here. I guess Amazon's always shipped to Australia, but we've just gotten the Australian version open. eBay's been here for years. But yeah, Amazon's been a recent thing. Even stuff like Microsoft. I mean, I know everything's Microsoft driven, but like they've only just started opening stores here. They've opened the first one in Sydney, just as an example, right?
Yeah.
So everything's just so it takes a while, but it's a small market at the end of the day. We're 24 million people, so and we're spread out. We're not all in one city, so you know, it's it's difficult to crack this market. Even as a small business entrepreneur, it's tough. There's a lot of opportunities, but it's tough to sustain it. And you end up selling to a bigger franchise, or because that's the only way you can really get anywhere at the moment. So
So, like,
um,
have there been any like Australian companies that have come in to fill the void? Like what's some Australian companies that we might not have heard of, or what's some American companies that aren't active that you wish you could experience that you've heard about?
we've just gotten our first Costco's.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Now I was
Costco's
like,
cool.
yeah, and I was like, oh wow, like because we have to. They all open up in the eastern states, and we have to wait 10 years for it to finally reach here. So like I would actually fly over east just to go check out like Taco Bell. Taco Bell's just come.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man,
you
get
know,
ready. How many
yeah,
bathrooms does your house have?
not enough.
Not enough for Taco Bell.
I think that plumbing would go out first. Dig a hole in the back.
Invest
The
in
outhouse.
plumbing.
Yeah. But I guess in terms of Australia, like I couldn't tell you, I don't believe we export too much because you guys don't like our products, Vegemite and Milo, but kind of leaves us a little bit limited. But I know that our hardware chain called Bunnings branched over into the UK recently because it's a massive, massive. It's our main hardware store, I guess. I think Home Depot was the one that I think you guys got Home Depot, right?
We have Home Depot
Yeah.
and Lowe's. That's our main, and
Yeah.
Menards.
Menards. Yeah. Home Depot was the first. I mean, the originator of the
Of hardware.
warehouse design. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Atlanta. So.
So Home Depot tried to open up here under a new branch with an Australian grocer called they called it Masters. That lasted all but 2 years.
Yeah.
They're still trying to sell the buildings off now, but that was their Home Depot's trying to get into Australia. It failed because
Wow.
it's just the market's not big enough, and not yet anyway. Um, we don't have the people to sustain it, and so Bunnings is massive here. It's like Home Depot for you guys. It's the first hardware, one of the first anyway, the first warehouse thing. So Home Depot and Bunnings are pretty much identical in terms of all that. Bunnings tried to open in the UK, so that was our export, and it just failed. I think they sold it for like £1. They sold the whole thing for £1 and just wore the debt. Um, yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing I would suggest that we export is UGG boots. I don't know if you've seen them,
Oh, we've
but
seen them.
like, yeah,
Plenty on college campuses galore, man.
Our
That's
prime quarterback, our best quarterback in the football league that we have, the American Football League, wears Uggs.
that's it.
He
I've
does.
mostly seen it on girls in college.
yeah. I used to wear a pair. Actually, they're really really warm. But it's a bit weird for men to wear them now. It's become more of a women wear those, so like men can't wear them anymore. But they
Yeah.
are very warm. They're nice. Spooky Whispering was just saying, yeah, Aussies export iron ore. So from a resource point of view, like my state in particular, so a lot of my customers in my industry work iron ore mining customers. So Iron ore obviously gets turned into metal. So car makers like Hyundai prefer our iron ore, so they will take take our iron ore. And the Chinese housing boom is really what brought brought a lot of money in over the last few years, because they needed the metal to build their apartments and housing and whatnot. That's died down a bit, but we've got uranium, we've got lithium, which we've just started doing now. Iron ore, we've got diamonds, and all sorts going on. So it's pretty crazy over here. Like, we've got a lot of resources to export, but I guess in terms of, like, you wouldn't know where it came from unless you were working in mining or manufacturing or something. Exploring
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. So what's your real job like? Like, what do you do?
Well, I work in IT. It's
My
good.
brother. I do too.
Yeah, so hence why computers and stuff. But so look, it's good. The Australian IT industry is growing. It's big and it's going to continue growing. I've got certifications coming out of my ears from Microsoft and Cisco and all of that, and it takes a lot of my time up. But yeah, it's not a very. It's all right. It's cruisy. It is pretty stress. It is very stressful, especially when you're dealing with deadlines and the constant environmental factors, I suppose, with power going out and hard drives dying and all sorts, and just the dust. A lot of our companies, the red dust that you see, that red sand gets inside all your components, and that shortens the life of any components. That stuff is thick. So it's just the constant, stresses of that, I suppose. But it's good. I mean, I like it. I enjoy it a lot, and but it takes a lot of your time up, and if you don't have anything else to break it up with, it's easy to burn out. I think that's with any job, to be honest. But it's good to have a different hobby that's not kind of computer related. But
Yeah. So would you like YouTube to one day be a full-time job or just a hobby? Like, where do you see it?
I would love to see it as a full-time job one day, making the content I want to make.
You got the voice for it, man. You crush it. No,
Oh,
for real.
thanks.
Like, you're
I
no,
appreciate it.
just listen to I listen to other Australian channels and just hearing yours, man. It's like the perfect mix of, like, you're still Australian, but it's not too Australian. I don't know. It's not.
I get called a pom. I don't know if you guys know what a pom is, but Lex
No.
calls me a pom just to because I call her Australian sometimes. Well, I don't call her Australian. She'll kill
I
me.
call her Australia.
But yeah, no. I don't know. I'm not. This is quite a city accent.
Yeah.
The thing with Australian is the main. We don't really have distinct accents like the States or like the UK, but the cities have more of a accent similar to mine. And then the country blokes will be like, "Oh, g'day, how you going? Yeah, been on the blower for a bit, yeah, he's been out there for a bit. No, how long's it got to go? Oh, not long. How far? Oh, not that far. You'll be right."
There's some more Scottish dude.
Yeah, I've always thought that Australian accents, like, they were kind of like the country accents for America. Like,
I always thought.
if you go to the redneck states, like, all right, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
and then you go to Australia, all right. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
So how would you describe our accents, Ethan and I's? Like, what does it sound like to you? Is it obnoxious? Is it
No.
Yeah. How do we sound?
American?
No, it's not. To me, it sounds like if you were going to put on the standard American accent. That's what you two guys have to me. It's not. It doesn't sound southern. It doesn't sound. Minnesota has this accent I'd love, but I can't reproduce it myself. I don't know if
You're not
it's a
talking
particular
about
part of
you're not talking about the
Minnesota.
northern E, are you? You're not talking
It
about
sounds
like
more Canadian.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Eh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it was Canadian.
Well, it's not,
Canadian
but they
sounding.
kind
I
of
mean,
they kind of
it's so close that
It's
they
similar.
sound similar. So
I remember a Kirsten Dunst movie, and I was like, "Oh, I like this accent. What is it?" But
yeah.
so Australian girls, would they like our accent or would they find it obnoxious?
no, you guys would stand. Any American stands out like you would not believe. You hear an American person, and they're like crowded around. Everyone's like, "Oh,
Well,
he's
that's how it
American."
is in America for
Yeah, if
Australians.
you
So
came
come over
over,
here.
they would be eating you up.
Yeah, they
There's no,
would love it.
there's not many of you guys here, so like you get used to. We actually have a few Canadians, and you're like, you American? Nah, from Vancouver. Oh, piss off. But
Damn.
in
I would
America,
just say Seattle at that point.
yeah, or from Toronto. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, go away, you're because they lose their accents so quickly. Like, um, Canadians come here and then they start sounding weird. They sounded like it's me trying to do an American accent. It doesn't sound right. Like, I don't know what it is, but no, like I used to work with a guy from Denver. He's been here for like 40 years or something like that. Um, and the reason he came is because he met an Australian girl and an American. Is like, you know what? I don't like the States. I'm coming with you. Um, and he stood out because an African American dude, in Australia, people are like, you're not an Aborigine. So what are you? And this is, we're talking 40 years ago. So like, oh, I'm an African American. It's like, oh wow, and that was fascinating to everyone. Now it's becoming more and more common, but there's not many Americans, so people are still fascinated by seeing an American in person. They're like, "Oh my God, no, you must come out, and I'll show you the world, and I'll show you Australia. Let's go surfing."
What about your parents' accents? Are they more Australian or are they more from where they're from?
My mum is very Aussie, like no one can pick her.
Yeah.
They just think she's Italian descent or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but my dad has the thickest accent, like just standard Polish accent. Like he's been here for so yeah, like I said, since the 80s, and his accent is like so thick. I mean, I understand him just fine. I forget he has an accent, but like if someone will be like, "Oh, your dad sounds very scary," I'm like, "Excuse me, what do you mean?" It's like, "Oh, he's speaking to me in this Russian accent." I'm like, "It's not fucking Russian." Yeah, like, but yeah, like I think that's the thing though here as well. Like, it's socially acceptable. Like because you just have so many different people with their different accents. Like every Asian restaurant or every so often, like every business you work in, there's always different ethnicities. Like there's not just um Australians anymore. It's so crazy. Like your Indians, your Asians. Not so many Japanese. There's more from China and Hong Kong. There was Hong Kong originally, now mainland China. But they're business owners or they're just all accountants and you know uni sort of graduate roles, essentially. And a lot of South Africans as well. A lot of English and a lot of Scottish and Irish, but a lot of South Africans as well. So everyone's used to just everyone having, you know, they kind of expect you to be foreign first.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like a melting pot.
yeah, they're like there's like a white Australian, so to speak, like an actual convict, blooded, or even a settler blooded Australian is getting quite rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan and I
Spooky.
really don't. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say Spooky Whispering said, so why are Aussie girls so beautiful?
So stupid beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's the sun. Maybe it's just the glowing sort of. I don't
Go
know.
outside. Go outside, people.
In fact, like one of the channels I follow is Sailing La Vagabond, however you say it. And that dude's Australian. And he
Yeah.
picked up a girl in Greece or Italy or something. They got married. Now I'm about to have a kid. But like Australia, have you heard of Kentucky tours? Have you been on a Kentucky tour?
Yeah. I haven't,
Yeah.
but we have them. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like a
like
dating thing,
if you
right?
guys want an Australian girl, go on a Kentucky tour because one of the two number one things you'll see about a Kentucky review is A, you're gonna get the Kentucky cough, or B, you're gonna hook up with an Australian girl. So
I
I'm
think.
sold.
yeah, so I think it would be worth it for any single guy. So
I think the thing I forget about, I guess, Aussie girls is because I take, I'm used to it, is I forget how, as a whole, how I guess strong-minded Aussie girls are. Like the sense of humor and just like, ah, there's a spider. Yeah, no worries. Let me just kill that for you. Like, don't you touch my cooking. It's just you just get used to being, you get, harsher, I guess, and not harsher in a bad way, but I guess they're just tough girls, and then really, how do I say, like, just down to earth, but they're not afraid to get their hands dirty, not afraid to get involved. Yeah, we've got divas, but it's not like you see like a girl wearing her UGG boots, and she just finished changing the battery out of her car and changing the alternator, and then she'll wear her Prada bag, just because she can, like it's it's unique.
Yeah, you definitely don't see much of that around here. Like we have country girls. Like the way Ethan and I speak isn't really. It doesn't really speak to how the majority of people around us speak. Like we're from a city where there's a lot of rednecks. Man, come on, let's go fix that dang old truck, man. Have you ever seen King of the Hill by chance? I don't know if that's aired over
Yeah,
here.
damn it, Bobby.
Damn,
Yeah,
damn,
that's my area.
Toyota, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, like most of the women around here, they'll claim to be country girls, but a lot of them don't know how to, do anything, as far as changing alternators, changing. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy, and I'd say that not trying to spark fires, but like there's not a lot of strong-willed women that I'm aware of. Most of the women here are just kind of trying to get married and have kids by a certain age. So
Yeah, I mean that's the old generation at the end of the day. I mean, that's traditional, the old values, I suppose. I won't say old as in it's outdated. I'm just saying like that's what we grew up around, Um, Now everyone just wants to have a career here, I suppose, and just hold their own. Like that's the sort of, like if I had a daughter, that's what I would want for her. I wouldn't want her to stay around and wait for a husband, to find a good husband. I'd be like, all right, so you're not getting married till as long as I'm alive. You're not going to have a boyfriend until you're at least 30. You got to focus on your studies. You're going to be a lawyer because you need to be a lawyer or a doctor. No, you don't need to be. You can be whatever you want, but your education is important first.
I just really want to go to Australia now. It's moved higher on my list.
Yeah, you definitely are selling it pretty good, man.
Like I want to live there now. I just thought about visiting before, but now I kind of want to stay there.
Forget about the spiders and snakes. Just get yourself an Aussie girl, and you're right.
That's fine. Yeah, she can take care of it.
Exactly. She'll know.
Like, oh my god, snakes! Just hey, yo, go take care of it. Like I had to kill a snake in the last couple of years, and it was an achievement. I was like, man, I'm manly as fuck. But like, it was like a very unusual occurrence. So
the problem we have is we can't kill them. That's the other issue we have.
They're too powerful.
No. We get fined. We're not allowed to kill them.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Supposedly they're illegal to kill where we live, but no one actually pays attention.
I keep the archives. Yeah, no. If they see you doing it, first of all, like it's impossible to kill them because they're tough. Like you can't use a shovel because it just slips off them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try and just like say, look, stay inside, call, RSPCA or whatever, and let them deal with it. Because it's just too hard. It's fair enough. I mean, you have to control it, but yeah, it's illegal. You can get fined, you get jail time. It's crazy, man.
Wow. The only thing we really get in trouble for is killing bald eagles.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing they care about here. That's insane though. Like, I mean, like I said, killing snakes is on paper it's illegal, but I mean, if you go in your front yard and kill a black snake, no one's going to say anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah, here you'll get some massive group, coming out and saying, "Oh my God, you killed a snake," or start off with a neighbor, or because the minute you chuck a dead snake across the road, or wherever, it'll get found out, and then they'll do a whole investigation, and it's like, forget about the backpack, murders. Don't worry about that right now. Just put that on hold. Let's get back to this snake. How did this snake die?
Another conspiracy theory. Do you think the government is trying to keep snakes alive to stop immigration? We got to keep our reputation of spiders and snakes. You guys are killing the only thing keeping all these people from coming over here, because otherwise we're great.
I believe the government is doing something to these snakes to make them even more venomous. I think these snakes got venomous in the first place because of the government.
They're just genetically engineering them to be more deadly.
Actually more plausible is with the Aboriginal people. It's possible that, and this is just conspiracy, I actually don't know this for fact or not, but it's possible that they may have created the snakes to keep others away, because Aboriginals and snakes don't really have a problem with each other, as far as I've always been told. Like, oh, they know what to do with snakes. They're pleasant with them. It's believed that they're I don't want to say elders, but like the ancient spirits created all these things to protect them. And so it's to keep the people out, so to speak.
Well, it's a good method to keep me out.
Yeah.
Rebecca said, "Who the fuck told you it's illegal to kill snakes?" It's definitely not. There are laws that say it's illegal to kill snakes.
I
It's
think
just
you
they're
can kill
not.
any snake. It's fine.
That's the thing. Like you can, but like there are officially there are laws that you're not supposed to kill snakes or certain snakes, but you are. I mean, no one actually pays attention to it
Yeah.
because it's snakes, and around here, like snakes are the worst thing you can find in your yard. So it's one of those laws like you can't have missionary sex in certain states. It's like it's a law, but no one cares.
So you say you can't have it?
Yeah, there's certain law. I can't remember what state it is. Certain states in the United States where you're not supposed to have anything but missionary. I'm sorry, but
Oh,
there's
sorry.
definitely
I was
some
going to say,
things.
yeah.
Don't
I'm
sodomize
not
people.
surprised.
yeah, Jersey said in Virginia it is illegal. So
All right, I'm gonna read the last thing so that we can at least say we got through all the unsolved mysteries. And I
I
mean,
think we
kill
got one
snakes.
more, don't we?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna read the last one. It's actually
sorry.
interesting.
Oh, it cut out
Yeah,
when you said that.
sorry.
My Australian
It's
internet.
like, no, it's like speaking of sodomy.
The family murders. No.
Yeah. The family was the name given to a close knit group of men who were believed to be involved in the kidnapping, sexual abuse, and at times torture of young men and teenage boys in and around South Australia from the 1970s to the mid 1980s. The existence of the group came about during there was a murder of 5 different teenage boys between 1979 and 1983. And these were high profile murders, and at the time the suspects began to be like come around that the suspects were a part of the high society of people, so doctors, lawyers, and a group of people. They thought it belonged to at least 12 people that were involved in the kidnappings and murders. The suspects and their associates were linked to many different crimes, and they shared the habits of actively seeking young males to have sex with and then murder them after, usually drugging them and then raping their victims. All right, so of the 5 murders that were known, 4 of them remain unsolved. Only one suspect that was charged and actually convicted. And it happened in 1984 to the hold on. When he was only convicted for 24 months, 24 years, and it was extended to 36-year term for the murder of a 15-year-old Richard Kelvin. So so there was at least 5 cases. I think there were a lot more. Only one was convicted. And the cases were reopened in March of 2008 with a $1 million reward to anyone who could like bring forward any other evidence. Because with new DNA testing and everything, they thought one of these like mini suspects could be like convicted. And there was ultimately like 3 suspects. One was like a doctor, another was a lawyer, and then I don't remember what the third was. I read it when I was researching all of this, and none of these like suspects could be proven. Like they offered immunity to any accomplices or anyone who could bring more information because they think it was a big string of individuals, which is interesting for like the whole. It's a big conspiracy about like Hollywood pedophilia, and even England has their whole pedophilia ring. There's a bunch of rich people. They're like, yeah, we're gonna fuck young boys. So with the DNA Act, none of this happened. The cold case went for review. All the evidence was reviewed again, and no charges were laid against these suspects. So, what do you guys think happened? I mean, it's lots of pedophilia.
So I guess the city of Adelaide is probably considered the crime capital of Australia. Like the most brutal, I guess, crimes is, has originated from Adelaide for like forever. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that with anywhere a high society of people who come together, the country club folk or whatever, you know, are doing it as a bit of a game or a sport, some sort of sick game or something like that, based on stuff I've seen in movies. So to me, it's just a simple, police commissioner was involved, a higher up within the thing, and it was simply just covered up. Like there's probably things there that they know of. But to me, it's a conspiracy because, you know, if they could have solved this by now, put it that way.
Yeah,
They could have done this by now. Especially in this day and age.
yeah. It's like the Golden State Killer in America was just solved recently because of DNA, and some people have said that the Zodiac was going to be resolved shortly once they ran through all the data banks. So it kind of seems like if you had like a DNA database and samples, that something would show up and something would come of it. But I don't know, the whole idea that people can just look the other way and not mention it and forget about it.
I mean, it happens a lot where we live too, so it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Like, I mean, the whole Me Too movement, Hollywood being as corrupt as it is, and then the Catholic Church has run into a lot of issues recently. It's messed up.
To add to that, so Adelaide's known as the city of churches. It was actually predominantly a Catholic, well, still is, Catholic city, and as we know, obviously, you guys have heard about we've got a thing here called safeguarding as part of the Catholic Church. I'm not sure if that's a global thing as well, but obviously in recent light of all the the priests and bishops and all that being charged for sexual allegations, suspected of all these crimes. To me, there's always been a Catholic club here in Australia. If you look at most of our prime ministers, have always been Catholic. There's only been few that have been Protestant or Baptist or whatever, but they've always been Catholic. They all know each other. They've all been the Catholic society is the highest society here in Australia. Police, anyone who wants to be anything, any rich person. Alan Bond was was the richest person in Australia at one point. All Catholic. They're all members of the same society at the end of the day. Things go on that can easily be hidden and paid off. So to me, it's just another one of those, part of that society that we can't touch because they're corrupt as fuck.
Exactly. Yeah. The Creepy Archive said, I think the only people that get away with pedophilia are rich or have power. Anyone else gets caught fairly fast. That's pretty true. The people that have money and the people that have power do get away with more. And I actually saw, I think it was California, that recently revised their criminal, specifications, where now if you're like basically instead of being able to pay your way out by paying bail and getting out of jail, like people have to actually discuss whether you should be allowed to get off or not. So it doesn't stop people from getting away with pedophilia, but it stops people from being able to buy their way out of situations like that to an extent, in theory.
Yeah. No, I follow you.
It sucks though, because I mean, again, like the Hollywood movement in America, it's like, Harvey Weinstein is like big director, or big, producer, whatever you want to call him. Like he's been getting away with it for years and years and years because no one was, ballsy enough to take him down, because if they did, it would have been the end of their career, or he had the money to, pay people off. Whereas, if John Schmo, down the road molest a kid, it's going to get out. like they said, we have the resources to find it. It's just whether people are high profile enough to evade it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is Catholicism big there? Like, when is?
Yeah, extremely. I would say that it makes up a good out of the religious population at one stage anyway. It was, I want to say it was the largest, but I won't say it's the largest. I would say it was probably the second largest denomination of religion out of, if you were to treat it as each denomination of Christianity was considered its own for the sake of a census or the sake of a graph.
Yeah.
Catholicism was probably either the largest or the second largest, at least, behind Protestantism. I can't remember which way it usually works because of the English. Anglicanism. Sorry, not Protestantism. Protestant. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I mean, when you think about like Anglican stuff, in a way, it's pretty much Catholicism. From at least what we look at it. I went to. I'm not Catholic, but I went to a Catholic school as a kid.
Yeah.
So.
So I guess with England, bringing Anglicanism here, I mean, they still regard it as a Catholic faith without the Pope, in a nutshell. They're not Protestants, but they're still very distinct. So they're quite two very distinct things. So Catholicism is very prominent because it is the biggest, it is the highest society. Even if you don't practice religion, you still baptize your kids, you still christen them, communion, and you put them into private school, high school, and it gives them, even our universities are all, some of them anyway, Murdoch University and whatnot, over in this side of Notre Dame, and all that over east, are all Catholic, you know, under the Catholic church, so to speak. So it's like, it is very prominent. And whether, I think as religion, as more and more people tend to become atheist, or as religion sort of becoming less and less prominent, I think that here in Australia, Catholicism and that society will still remain, because it's still required. They're not necessarily a religious practice, but it's a societal, you know, societal tradition or societal thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the Catholics, mainly the reason why it's still prominent anyway is because all the immigrants have been Catholic. Polish, Italians, Filipino, the Spanish. It's still a very prominent religion, even though Republic of Ireland. Some English people, some Scottish people. It's still, the more immigrants that come, the more are going to be Catholic. The reason I say it's going down is because Islam is the one that's growing now.
Oh yeah, I went to so after Catholic school, I went to a Protestant school.
Yeah.
And our senior year address from the pastor was that, man, Islam's gonna outgrow Christianity because they birth so many people. It's growing so fast. So when you were in school, did you go to public school or did you go to like Catholic school, or how was it?
I went to both. So I went to private school. I started off in a public school, but then when we moved south of the city, I went to private school. It was okay, but to be honest, the fees were extravagant. Public school's free, so
Yeah.
you don't have to pay the fees. So so honestly, I went to public school. I still learned scripture. It was still Catholic. The government still mandated Catholic teachings in the public schools, and we still, for Christmas and Easter and all that, we still, walked over to the church nearby, the
That's
Catholic church.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's all abolished. They don't bring any religion into the public schools anymore.
Yeah. How old are you? When did it get abolished? Do you know?
All I know is, I don't know when without looking it up, but what I know is, so my partner has 2 kids, and who are quite young, both in primary school, and there's no religion. And the
Yeah.
oldest one's 10. So at least, I'd say, at least as long as he's, been going to school, religion is certainly not taught in school.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to have like separation of church and state, but people still get super excited whenever like prayer is mentioned or whatever. Or at least our area, like they have a hard on when like the coach or something said a prayer or something. Like literally, it makes the papers and everyone acts like it's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, you guys would be flipping your shit if it was like a Muslim coach.
Yeah.
Like we just
get the rug out.
just like praying.
Yeah,
Which is fine. It's whatever. It's just like the
Yeah.
whole like. I mean, I guess the double standard of things.
That's
in
what
our
always really
Absolutely.
bothered me. Is like,
Yeah.
and I like Ethan was saying, like people around here, it's like they want prayer to be in school, but the thing is, they want it to be Christian prayer. So if it was anything besides that, like Islam or Muslim, they would flip their shit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we had a point where
Yeah, I gotcha.
I guess they still are freaking out. Like in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says, one nation under God. That became a big issue when we were in high school. I remember.
And which in itself is a conspiracy. Like going back to everything, like the whole idea that like under God wasn't actually in the Pledge of Allegiance, and in America, the Pledge of Allegiance, the whole idea was actually started to sell more flags to schools. Like the guy who came up with the pledge was literally selling all the flags that went into like the school system. They came up with it, and then it was added to the like Truman, I think, was the one who added under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. And the whole conspiracy is that was added there like once we discovered like aliens and stuff existed. So that was there to like reinforce like peace of mind of humanity. and a higher power, and to not worry about the green little men that are going to conquer us or
One
serve us.
nation
Yeah.
under God, no aliens.
Yeah,
With
basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it all comes back to aliens.
Yeah. I'm just gonna bring it full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though. But yeah, we've been going on for almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm sorry keeping you guys so long. All right, hold on. Let's see any last questions. Oh man. All right, hold on. I gotta ask this because I didn't we referenced it, but we didn't really ask about. So, have you heard of Outback Steakhouse, and what do you think of Outback?
Ethan's been
I
wanting to
have.
ask this question for so
I
long.
have. So actually, when I started off with the horror community, I've never heard it before, but his name's Watching from the Shadows Narrations. Good friend of mine. So myself, Lex, we're all good friends with each other, and probably some of my best friends here. And anyway, so the first thing he asked is, "All right, you got to answer me something." I'm like, okay, you got to tell me something. Okay, what's up? Outback Steakhouses, are they real? Like, sorry, what do you mean? Are they legitimate? Are they genuine? I have no idea what you're talking about. So I looked it up, and I saw the chain of these restaurants called the Outback. I'm like, well, there's your first question answered. I looked at the menu though, and I'm like, it's not bad. Like, it's kind of food you would have here. I guess for us, if I saw a nice kangaroo steak or something kangaroo based or even emu based, that would make it for me a little bit more, legit. But it's not something we have down here. I don't think it's run by an Aussie. I'm not sure. I haven't looked too far into there.
Well,
I know
it's
we
like
did it.
sorry,
Sorry.
go for it.
I struck with this. No, in school, like in college, they told us we did a case study on Outback, and the way it came about was the original people, they liked to play golf a whole lot, the founders. And so originally, like Outback Steakhouse was only open for dinner, and that's why, because the guys would play golf during the day and then open for dinner. And it was a bunch of guys that just came up with the branding and everything. But even before that, in high school, I kept thinking, like, is this authentic Australian food? Like, what's it really like down there?
And that's the thing. Like in America, like before dinner, we have things called salads, where in Australia they have blooming onions. And
yeah, have you had a blooming onion? It's fucking delicious.
It is very good. Is that real? Is that a real Australian dish?
It's not.
Get on it, man. They're good.
I know the blooming onions. It's not something we do. The closest thing we do is onion rings, but I mean that's nothing crazy. I mean, like I'm sure you guys have onion rings, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine those on steroids. That's a blooming onion.
So yeah, that's a blooming onion. But we used to have Lone Star down here, like a steakhouse. Yeah, I think they were American, to be honest. They were probably what I thought American food was. So maybe that was actually quite right, to be honest. Like, quite accurate. But I guess I would relate Outback to that in terms of like the idea behind the concept behind that. I guess in this theme of Australian, but it's not far off. Like, I mean, with the exception of blooming onions, the menu in general I thought was pretty. Like, I mean, it's stuff that we would, I guess, eat, like steak, and it's to me I think it doesn't really matter what it is. It's more if you have a charcoal barbecue or a barbecue going on, you chuck your meat on it, you chuck your snags, sausages and like your steaks and whatever. To me, that's really what it is. It's that taste. You chuck your beer on it, like Dad will be drinking, his Emu Export or whatever he's drinking. Now it's Heineken because he's posh, and he'll be sitting there drinking his stubby in his hand, stubby holder and everything, and he'll be cooking on the barbecue. Mum's making the salads, and he's cooking the onions and snags and stuff, and then he'll chuck some beer on it on the barbecue and flavor the meat with beer. That was all, the norm, and yeah, so that's what would make an Aussie, a traditional Aussie sort of, restaurant.
Well,
but speaking of
delicious, regardless,
it is also like Outback is literally our best restaurant, our small like
well, that's good, man.
But speaking of beer in Australia,
Yeah.
so is
Yeah.
Foster's the king of beer in Australia, or
Oh, some people might say that. I'll tell you the cheap and nasty ones. VB, which is Victoria Bitter. That's the cheapest crappest beer you could get. Emu Export, it's the next one. I think they're the two worst. Foster's is decent. Foster's is very good. Cooper's is another one. Cooper's is meant to be really good as well.
yeah,
But I prefer James Squire out of the Australian beers. There's Hans and Tooheys and all these other brands, but yeah, Foster's is meant to be the bee's knees,
yeah.
you know,
I've
in terms
never
of
never
yes.
had it, but I just remember the commercial like Foster's Australian for beer.
Yeah, yeah. It is decent. Like if you're drinking Foster's here, it's still considered pretty like, oh, you're drinking a Foster's, are you?
Yeah, I just know it's like a giant can. Like anytime I'm in a casino, I see just like at least one guy. It's a giant can of Foster's like in front of him. Like that dude, he knows how to party. He's like he always looks like he's halfway there at least. He's got a giant can of beer in front of him.
That's not a beer. This is a beer.
Basically, yeah. Like what are you
Yeah,
drinking?
it's a beer.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's awesome. But I mean, yeah, for us, it used to be cans and then they moved to stubbies, the little 375 ml bottles, the glass bottles basically.
Mhm.
But and you had to have the stubby holder, the little foam cup holder around it. You weren't a bloke if you didn't have your favorite Aussie rules, football team, West Coast Eagles or Sydney Swans or whatever, Hawthorn,
yeah.
around your beer representing.
So hold on, you mentioned like Aussie rules. Like, so how
Yeah.
popular is that? 'Cause that is a fucking crazy sport. Like, they only show it to
Oh,
us like at midnight on ESPN, where we like catch a glimpse of it, and we're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
when it's
But,
footy season, it is on like religiously. Like
yeah,
everyone gets involved here. Like my dad's not even from here and he's involved.
it's a
You know,
crazy sport. It's fun to watch. Like, I don't
What
even
was
really
it?
know their rules, but it's crazy.
I missed it.
So,
What was it?
Aussie rules.
yeah,
Never heard of it. I'll have to look it up.
Australian football.
yeah.
It's not like English foot. I mean, it's not like soccer or American.
No, no,
I mean,
no.
sorry,
It's like
It's similar to
football.
American football. It's similar to American
crazy.
football. It's the same sort of ball, but yeah, like it's our national sport. Everyone gets taught that in school. Like you have to learn, Aussie rules growing up. But whether if you're good at it, then they'll actually like sponsor you as a kid and actually like, oh wow, this guy's really good, and they will give you a scholarship and everything in it. Like that's how young they pick you up. Um, like I was okay with it. Like I couldn't quite bounce the ball because it's an oval shaped ball and you had to get it a certain way to like know how to bounce it correctly.
Did
But
you jump over people's heads with it?
no, not as a kid. No,
Okay.
not as a. Probably if I went more with it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm bad at sport, but
I mean, I
bad
didn't
at
know
that
that's
sport.
like an Australian thing. They're just like hardcore, like fuck you, jump
Yeah, it's
over,
just
put the
wear
ball.
shorts, tank top, just
Yeah,
knock each other. It's becoming a lot more like say, if you bump into someone, or you're going to get a fine because that was intentional or that could have been argued, or it's becoming more and more like babysitting, or
that's
I don't know how
Yeah,
to
really
a lot like
explain it.
like
American football, honestly.
yeah, that's literally American football. See, like what I liked about it is like literally, it seems like there's no rules except to fucking win. Almost like compared to American football, like you get flagged for anything, or it
Yeah.
seems very systematic. So
Yeah, it's becoming like that. I'm not going to say it's anywhere as controlled as that, but I mean, if it's intentional, you're going to get fined. So they obviously they want to protect the players. But the guy who
yeah,
got hit in the face, he's not going to complain. He's not going to be like, "Oh, he hit me in the face." Like he's not. He's just going to get on with it and smack him back again. So it's yeah, it is a tough sport though, and I got to give out to them. Like, they are really, really intense. Like they're so committed. They've been doing it since they were like 4 years old. They've been training all their lives. They train every time every day they get. They're just committed. Like even right now, I'm looking at a TV advert, and it's just Sunday, the Lions versus the Falcons. It's like, that's how everywhere it is. It's
That's a
just
lot
crazy.
less interesting in American football.
yeah.
We have a Lions and Falcons.
Those are just small teams. They're not the main ones, but
Same.
I was gonna ask, like, how does that translate to like what do you guys like? What is your favorite sports? Like, how does it reflect to like soccer, Like, you guys watch any American football, or is it all like Australian? Or like, how does it compare overall, like as a nation?
It's in terms of Australia in sport, or in terms of Aussie rules, Australian
I
football.
mean, what you guys watch and like what you guys actually
Okay.
give a fuck about, I guess. Like, you guys care.
So people who like footy will watch footy,
Yeah,
Aussie rules.
yeah,
People who like rugby will just be loyal to rugby. They
yeah.
won't really watch football. So that'll be rugby league or union. New Zealand is obviously big with rugby. South Africa, France, England. They're all specific with their rugby. So you'll get your rugby followers. So footy's the main staple. Rugby is, I guess, more of like a niche still, except for New Zealand because like that's the only sport they're good at. Sorry, Liz. And then
Shots.
and then like cricket. Cricket's massive. Everyone loves their cricket.
Really?
Um, yeah, cricket's a huge thing. Tennis is growing for us. Tennis has always been like Wimbledon and you know this cup, that cup, the Australian Cup. Like I personally like tennis like a lot. So that's probably my favorite sport that is a real sport other than pro wrestling.
What
That's not a real
about
sport.
golf, man?
Golf's okay. Golf's big, but it's boring. I think the only
I mean, I
golf thing
agree.
I've watched is Happy Gilmore, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the best. That's all
Is
you need
Billy
to know.
Madison? Billy's
All you
Madison
need
or
to know.
Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, like around here, the big things are you have baseball, which is kind of faded into the background. American football is the biggest. You have basketball, that's really big.
basketball is growing, man. It's growing fast.
Yeah, soccer or football, whatever, that's becoming a big
Yeah.
thing. People are finally starting to pay attention to that. Tennis is kind of like a niche thing. Like people don't really, the majority of people
Yeah.
don't watch it, but it's
Yeah.
becoming a thing. American football is the big thing in
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, those two.
Basketball is big for us, yeah. Basketball is getting bigger and bigger. We've got the Perth Glory. Sorry, the Perth Glory is soccer. Perth Wildcats. My company sponsors them, so we actually have a box seat, corporate box office, right by the ring,
That's awesome.
by the ring. So like, I took my partner to this, and like I was literally sitting at ringside, right next to the hoop. Right, that's where our box office is, and our corporate box. And these guys come charging at you. And we're sitting front row and we're like, oh fuck. There's like 20 guys, you know, like probably like 2,000, 3,000 pounds right now charging our way. I think I'm gonna die. Like the whole time I was just on edge because I was like, I want to drink my beer, but I'm worried that if I start drinking, these guys are gonna run into me and I'm gonna choke. I don't know. I don't know. Like it was insane, man. But basketball is massive as well. It's growing, I should say. It's getting bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the whole footy thing. I've watched rugby. I've never gotten into it, but holy shit, the first I can literally remember the first time I saw like the whole Australian football thing on ESPN. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is this? I was like
Yeah.
14. And
Yeah.
ever since anytime I see it on, I watch it. And I've watched a few YouTube videos, like replays of it, but it's different. I don't understand how it's not more popular because this is a
Yeah.
crazy sport.
So they've in the last couple of years they've started women's AFL, Australian Football
Yeah.
League. So the women get to play now as well. So you should play them. I reckon they play tougher than the men. If you want to see, like some tough women, those Australian women I'm talking to you about, women's Australian football, man. It's that's a classic example for you, Blake. Like that's the sort of girl you want.
Well, let me ask this because this is probably different in America. Do they play in just their bra and panties? Because
I'm
that's
not-
how they play in America's women football league.
No, they play in the same uniform as the men wear. So the
I'll
shorts
have
and
to look that up.
the tank top.
Yeah.
They're legit.
Yeah, because around here, literally, the women's football league is just like I think it's actually called the lingerie league.
Oh,
But
okay.
I mean, that's
These-
just a Victoria's Secret thing, man. It's a promotional thing.
I don't know, man. That's the only time I've seen it. It was a good time. I don't know who won. I won. The viewer won. Oh man.
So hold on. What is one thing you wish people knew about Australia? Do you hear shit online or anything that really pisses you off that you want to correct? Like that you're tired of people saying about Australia?
I I don't really. I find it quite funny to be honest because I mean, like we've got a pretty good sense of humor, I'd say, and like we take the piss out of ourselves all the time. So, I mean, it is quite nice to, like just to, be noticed, I guess, by the rest of the world. Like, oh, hey, you actually remembered us. Like, cool. Thanks for noticing. But like I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I would want people to know that we probably don't drive kangaroos down here, and like we do have running water and electricity. Like it's not that bad. But no, look, it's a really modern country at the end of the day. Um, for you guys who live in the live in the city and whatnot, I mean, that's really what Australia's about. There's a lot of emphasis on the outback, but I mean, that's not really what Australia's all about. There's a lot of beauty and everything like that, and a lot of Australian, you know, stereotypes in terms of like Crocodile Dundee and Steve Irwin. But at the end of the day, Australia's just another country. Much like Canada and the UK and whatnot. It's I guess sometimes it's like, oh, you guys are exotic. You've got this and that down there, and it sounds like a dangerous place. But I mean, I probably didn't paint a good picture at the beginning, saying there's snakes, and spiders in your house and everything. But I mean, aside from that, I guess you just learn to adapt to your country and live with it. But to me, I don't see it as a exotic place, compared to I guess the States and the UK. So I guess I would want people to know that, yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's just another first world, Western world country.
Yeah,
Can
that
get boring
and
as any other
guys,
place.
it's not shrimps on the Barbie, it's prawns
It's
on the
prawns,
Barbie. Like that is the
and we
biggest
don't have.
mind fuck of the conversation. The fact
Yeah.
that that's like the biggest, that's the go-to Australian phrase for Americans is shrimp on the Barbie, and it's not shrimp on
Yeah,
the Barbie.
it's prawns.
I guess prawns makes more sense because when we went to England last summer, me and Rebecca, and they said like a lot of menus said prawns, and to me that does I don't relate that to shrimp. That kind of reminds me of like something I don't know.
Crawfish. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely like more like crawfish for us, and it does not sound appealing like prawns.
Ethan missed out on so many good prawns.
No, I don't know. So So you work and everything. Like, what's your balance between YouTube? Like, you make really usually your videos are pretty fucking long. Like, how long does it take you to make those, and where do you find time for YouTube?
So lately, I've been trimming them down a little bit, just because trimming them down a bit to about the 15-20 minute mark, because I was going through the whatever it's called, the stats.
Analytics. Yeah.
Thank you. um, and going, okay, well, the problem is, while that was good and worked for the niche, I've just found more success keeping the video shorter. I guess the view time is greater because there's not as, like people get interrupted, forget to look at it. People just don't have time these days. They've got your videos to watch. They've got, they've got Swamp Dwellers videos to watch, et cetera, et cetera. So, people don't have much time in the day, and especially, when you're starting out. It worked for a niche, and I was happy with that. But I also wanted to, you know, reach a broader audience and come down. So for me, finding the balance in the beginning, I had a lot more time to make videos. But as work's been getting busier and life's been getting busier, I've had to shorten that down so I can balance work and life. So yeah, so for me, I guess my partner helps me out with that. My friends, my close friends, Lex and Watch from the Shadows, Texas. A lot of these guys, and obviously Steph, my partner, they just help me out. Take a break from work and from and Six Toppy. I can't forget Six Toppy, my mate. Sorry, he's in the chat somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. It's just it's it's interesting. Like I think it's just second nature. I look forward to the the video making, the content making, and so while I'm on my break or something like that, I'll be looking for stories, or I'm sure Steph's sick of it by now, but like I'll be like, hey, look, well, I want to do. I found this story, and I was like, whoa, like I found this other story, and I was like, cool, like wow, I'll ask the author, hey, can I use this story? And I'll be waiting, like, oh, come on, yes, and then and then you just get excited because then the author's like, oh, can you send me the link? Like, I want you to show me like She just said never. That's my partner. Like, but I'm always talking about it. It's what I breathe. It's what I do. So for me, it's just second nature to, just to go to revert to videos and stuff. So it's always there, and it's just like kind of like seems like work kind of gets in the way. But like that's need that to pay the bills. Otherwise, yeah, I think my life is the content making. Is the horror
Yeah.
community, is the strange stuff. I
How
guess
long
like
does
you
it?
guys.
Yeah. How long does it take you to usually make a video? Like, how much
to
time do you think
make
actually
to
goes
make
into it?
to make a narration video from start to finish, because obviously I get these stories, I read these stories in advance, so I'm getting these stories. It takes a little while to get permission back sometimes. I find that if you find something that's just been released or been put out there, it's easier to get permission from that person, or to contact that person and get permission, than the other good ones you might have been around for a year or two or something like that, right? So the whole process itself, just getting the content to do, um, it might realistically a video might take a week
Yeah.
if you had to count all the hours up. The recording, the editing, the putting finding the correct, finding the right fitting content. Like it takes a while to produce, and I mean, like I make mistakes all the time, or I might read something, I'm like, no, I'm not happy with that. I don't think that really did anything. It doesn't do anything for me. Let me do it again. So realistically, it probably takes a week of video.
Yeah. It's pretty much how long it takes for us. Plus, like usually it's two people messing with it off and on.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
If I if I did what you guys were doing, I'd need a crew, to be honest.
Oh,
Like,
whatever. No way. I mean,
no, I would. Like, it honestly, the research you guys put in, and what you do and your originality and stuff. It's like, you know, I said this to Steph. I said I want to do a little bit more Australian stuff like that, but I need a crew to do it. Like,
yeah, but your videos are long. See, we kind of started like where you're at. Originally, we had our first couple of videos were a little bit long, not long, like in the sense of 40 minutes, but they're like past, like around 9 minutes. And
yeah,
we ran into the retention problem where like, oh shit, people aren't like, we're not retaining people. So we really shortened our videos to like 4 minutes. And now we're getting to the point where we see like people like Swamp, Mr. Davis, and everyone who are like crushing with longer videos. So we're like, okay, we gotta somehow get our videos longer and get that retention time up, because that seems like where people are really succeeding in our genre. And I don't know, it's tough finding the balance. Like right now, overall, like our analytics, like retention time are really good, but looking at other channels, they're really like crushing it. Like even looking at Mr. Ramsey, like Mr. Ramsey, like the way he's come up really fast. It is really interesting to look at and how it's growing compared to us and reaching out. Like us, we didn't reach out to the community until we were like at 1,000 subs, is when we were kind of realized there was a community. And that's when we started collaborating and stuff. So it's like trying to find collaborations that work in a way to mix and match audiences while growing it successfully. Because you wanna get subs. Like ultimately, I always compare our channel back to like Michael Scott, because like Michael Scott, he only has like he's over 6,000 subs now, but he has a very like active audience, and I think overall that's what you want to get, is like that active. Like if you look at his videos, they have an insane amount of likes and comments that I think are legitimate. There's a lot of channels where I think like things can be manipulated, even with us. Like a lot of our views come from like Reddit, or if we're like successful in like getting our video out on another blog or someone else to post it, like get a little bit of viral element, we'll get like these artificial views. But like Michael Scott's videos, he crushes it. And that's what I really look towards. I don't know.
yeah. I think and like Mr. Ramsey is growing like crazy. Like I remember
It is an
when
interesting case to watch. That's why I try to
yeah,
like pay attention to other channels to see what's going on overall in
yeah.
like in the community.
So because when Mr. Ramsey and I met, like I think we both started realistically about the same time, but we hadn't yet met each other. We were doing we were on our own separate paths and kind of in the horror community, but not. I think he was just coming into the social media side, and I had just come into it. So I had gone from like 30 or 40 subs up to like 170 by that point, or 190. Like it was ridiculous, just because I came into the Twitter community and the horror side of the community. And Mr. Ramsey was just coming into it about that time, and he makes great content. At the end of the day, he engages with his audience. He makes great content. And what he's really all about is he wants to please the audience, and he loves making content. In my opinion, he loves doing it, but he's also very good at pleasing. He listens to his audience and he knows how to connect with people, and that's, I think, works well in his favor. Like, I'm a little bit more of an introvert. I kind of get a bit like, oh, I'm not sure I should put myself out there. I might just I might just keep this to myself, and I might not let anyone know I posted anything. I might not I'm a little bit more shy, but I've taken confidence in the fact that the support from the community has really made me go, oh wow, people want to see my stuff now. Like, I was surprised that you shouted me out when you shouted my Mr. Ramsey out, a couple of weeks ago,
No,
3 weeks ago.
no,
I was like,
your voice is perfect. Like, you're really good. You should definitely be confident. Like, I think you guys deserve more subs. Like he's been crushing content lately. I saw where he posted on Twitter about like having people like paying people to write scripts. So I wondered about that, like how successful he was with that. I try not to be direct because like talking about social media, like it's a blessing and a curse. Like, it's really cool that you can get the feedback and the community and everything, but at the same time, you can see other creators that you think are like crushing it compared to what you're doing, and you can kind of like, if you're having writer's block or just struggling to like, or you feel like anxious about a video, you don't know how well it's going to do, and you're just finishing it up, it can really like hurt you if you're looking at social media and you see other people's like just crushing it. Yeah, so it's
and I felt that, obviously. I felt it, and it does get you down, but then I guess I naturally try, and it just triggers me to go, what, bugger it, what's this Amino Apps? And that's an amazing platform in itself. Like, that is so underrated. I don't know if you guys are using Amino, but that thing is amazing. I've picked up a ridiculous amount of new, like, good audience members, from there, like long-standing, reliable audience members from just Amino itself. Like, oh, would have never thought.
Yeah. What's amino? I don't know what the fuck that is. I have to learn what that is. That's another platform. That's another thing that's also like almost overwhelming. There's so many platforms that like target. So what are you talking about? What's amino?
I've heard of Amino.
I actually have never heard of it until now.
Amino Apps is a purely mobile-driven social media platform. It's strange the way it works, but once you get your head around it, it's it's a plug for Amino. I might as well work for them. But
it's a very good plug because I've never heard of them.
it's something I've known about because I was part of the Horror Hive for a while. Creepypasta Red and everyone else. So I was doing some narrations on those for a bit, and Amino Apps was one of the platforms that they used. Now, while I was part of it, I never really understood it or used it. But once there's a couple of, I guess, like communities or chat rooms or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they call it, like channels, kind of like Reddit with its subreddits. It's similar to that. And you've got to make sure you're posting the right one. But they're pretty cool on there in general, the users. And yeah, like, I'm part of the horror and creepypasta and paranormal and others, and I think Mr. Ramsey's part of a couple of as well. And to be honest, like, these guys are looking for content. They're like, wow, show me what you've got. Like, so I couldn't recommend it highly enough for anyone who's, looking to, as an extra platform to get exposure to. And I've told this to Creepy Archives, and I think I've mentioned to Six Toppy as well. I said, get onto Amino, because Amino Apps is a very underrated platform that really needs more attention, because it's key to growth as well. Good growth, not just artificial numbers, but long-standing views.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what you're chasing, because I mean, there's definitely like the vanity metrics, but Whiteout said that you have the perfect horror narration voice. I definitely think it's definitely the perfect Australian, because before you, like the Australian that I listened to the most, I guess, was Weird World that we'd worked with. But
yeah, no, Weird World, yeah.
Yeah, but in a way, like, what kind of Australian accent does he have? Because I mean, in a way, it's to us, like, from I guess like an American, it sounds a lot more like harsher, I guess would be the way to describe it, compared to your accent. Like, yours almost sounds like the easiest listening like English like accent there is, but you can tell
Oh,
it's
thank
still
you.
Australian. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
that's
Oh, thank you. Weird World, I remember correctly. Just trying to think of one of his stories that he's done. I think he did one about driving to Amboy or something. Um, I guess he's definitely from over east, but I don't know if he is a country bloke or if he's just from Queensland or something like that. I mean, I
yeah.
can kind of get an idea of that, but he will definitely. I don't think he's from my state, but then I could be wrong.
Have you heard of
But
the
yeah,
Have you heard of the channel Chills or Top 15s?
yeah, number 50.
Yeah, yeah, like he almost reminds me of like an
Burger
Australian
King
version of
foot
that. The way he kind of
lettuce.
like pauses and says stuff, like it almost he kind of like prolong, like stretches stuff out, like his speech pattern. I don't know, it's
Yeah,
different.
I don't know what
So
you're talking about.
I like Weird World because he gave us a collaboration when we had like no subscribers. But it's when you're thinking of like accents and stuff, it's different. And so
I would. Yeah, it's if people like that style, that's fair enough. I don't know. I'm pretty judgmental about the Australian accent. I know I shouldn't be, but like I guess because there's few content makers that are Aussies. Like Danger, is it Planet Dolan? Like
yeah,
he's another Australian, and he's
Yeah.
from Melbourne. I can tell that's
yeah.
Sydney or Melbourne, but um, I believe he'll be an Italian or Greek background. Like I can tell the ethnicity was so bad, but
He's grown
um,
like insane. He's a huge channel. He got channels in general. So
yeah, but he is like I met him. I found his content years ago, and like yeah, he's a really cool guy. Like I love his content, but he reminded me no, I wouldn't say similar to Chills, but like um, obviously his accent's much different to mine. Like he's got a very specific way of talking. It's to
Yeah,
me, it's not
it's
a common
interesting.
Australian,
It's
but
like
it's
Australia
distinct.
mixed with German almost. It's interesting.
Yeah, but no, he's really cool, and I don't know if you guys watch any Rainbot's videos. She came out recently with one called "What Happened to Ash Vlogs." But yeah, worth a watch. That girl in Ash Vlogs, like, yeah, she has a pretty similar accent to what I do in terms of like if I was a female version. Um, Ash Vlogs is the I guess like the male version, the female version of my accent, I reckon.
I haven't actually watched that much of her. Hold on. Jersey said, "Sir Spooks advertises Amina. How do we not know about it?
And
I've
Beat
never
Buster.
actually heard about it." And I don't know. You read it. I know some subreddits you should probably target better than you do. So like our analytics shows like Reddit posts, and there's definitely some more you could target more specifically that would get you more views. Um, but a lot of our core audience originally probably comes from Reddit.
Yeah, I would say the Reddit's a difficult one as well though, because um, like I've been burnt by Reddit before. Luckily, I got out without any too many bruises and stuff. But um, obviously Reddit is can be brutal. Especially
Yeah.
being anonymous. Like if you
Yeah.
do wrong,
That's where
you
you're
know,
gonna find out your real criticism is from Reddit.
correct. And that's good. But people just think they can just post any. I know they've got that time limit, so you can't spam it. But um, like I use Reddit as well. There's a few subreddits I use to target. You know. The different audiences and stuff. And like it's good. I mean, it's decent. I wouldn't say, I mean, I've only started doing it recently, but I find that with Reddit, what you take, you've got to put in double.
Yeah,
So, and people I've noticed will come along and post their stuff, but they haven't really contributed to that subreddit in any way, or Reddit in general sometimes. And so I think it's important to make sure that you flirt with it a bit, you get to know it, find some ground there. They don't necessarily have to remember your name, but build your karma up and then become a no, not necessarily long-standing, but like contribute as opposed to like advertise. Don't
no,
use it as
it's
a purely as a marketing platform.
no, it's definitely like Reddit is interesting. Like I read it a lot. I mean, before I did YouTube, a lot of the stories. I mean, like like unsolved mysteries. I originally actually found one while I was researching this. I don't want to talk about it because it's going to be a video, but I
Yep.
hadn't heard before because a lot of the stuff we cover is something I found on Reddit a couple of years ago. I'm like, holy shit, that is creepy. I want to make a video on it eventually. But no, I'm really like ingrained in Reddit, like so much so that like I have so many accounts that are dedicated to certain posting in certain Reddits and building up that like connection to where you can eventually like slip something in that goes unnoticed that might like hit like go decent. Like we recently had one with Rebecca, a video, and it didn't really help us view wise. See, this also happens. Like I try to think of different ways to market stuff. Any video that gets shared on like another blog, like we had someone blog our what was it, A Voice Inside My Head video about a girl that had a tumor talking to her. And we posted that on Reddit and it got fucking 2 million views, but we posted the blog to it. So, but it helped them. So the whole link economy, we got like 500 views out of it overall. But it's interesting how it works. You got to build up stuff. And I have a lot of different Reddit strategies. So that's why like the whole amino thing makes me interested. I've tried different sites, but Reddit's definitely the easiest one I've been able to embed stuff and understand, because you can't advertise. You have to spin it in a certain way. And like our most recent success on Reddit was the Pauline Picard video. We got a lot of views off of Reddit from that. And it was like, I found an article that I was reading and I'm like, this is like a perfect Reddit article. So I'm like, okay, I got to take this and put our video in it instead and spin it that same way. And it took off. So, but we've still never had the success. Like there's a channel casually explained stick figure comedy video that literally built his career off of Reddit. We've not had that success with it, but we've had a decent amount of views. So, and now that we have now that we're monetized and we're getting views off of Reddit, it helps a good amount because we're seeing more success, I guess. So I mean, we're getting a little bit better. So,
and you guys deserve it.
Thanks, whatever. There's certain subreddits I'll send you some that I really think are really better than some. It's definitely, you have to look at the community size, the activity. I mean, there's definitely some that can be a lot more productive than others, and there's a lot more you can get by with than others. I can see other channels that really are spammy, that are successful in shitty ways. Like if they were a good channel and like good at marketing, you could do it a lot better almost. And there's definitely, I mean, I promote Sir Spooks a lot. A lot of stuff I promote, like on Twitter, like I promote a lot of different things. It's like testing how people react to certain things. And that's what I do on Reddit too with other channels. Like channels we work with, like we're still small. Like anytime we work with someone like the size, like over, even like fucking Mr. Davis, like they're like over 25,000. You got to like reciprocate it in some way. One of the ways I try to do it is by testing their content on other social media to see what reacts and how it can take off. So I don't know. It's a way to learn. And Reddit can be fun. You just got to be careful not to be burned because people will say the shittiest things to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But you down. So
you take it with a grain of salt and you take it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the minute you get positive feedback on there, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah,
you know?
It means a lot. Like we've gotten burned so many times. Like you were saying earlier that you're kind of introverted. Like I'm the introvert. Like I make the content. It's like I don't want anyone to see it. And then Ethan's like putting it out there, and it's like, oh fuck, what are people gonna say?
Yeah. Exactly. I wish I had like an Ethan in my.
Everyone needs an Ethan.
Whatever. The first video I ever narrated was the lead mask mystery. It was our first video I did by myself, edited and narrated it, and I got it to take off because I found like copy is key. Like also like what I do in real life, like someone told me before I even did this was like copy, like how you write and spin stuff is important. Like, and I found something that really stuck with like the lead mask mystery, and it took off on Reddit. But people destroyed my narration. They sounded like I was yawning when I was talking. Like we got like, I don't remember the number of dislikes. It was our most dislikes ever at the time when I released it. But we were getting the views and we weren't monetized, and we got like 100 or 200 subs in a day, which was crazy for us for a video that wasn't a collaboration. And but it was brutal, the stuff they said. It was
they
like
can
getting
be.
torn apart.
Yeah.
So
They told me I sound like Burger King foot lettuce, and one guy said that I need to speak in a British accent. That would make our videos better. Yeah, one guy,
Far out.
this might have been YouTube, but one guy said that the only way we're going to succeed is by actually finding proof of Bigfoot. Like, I don't know, YouTube. I mean, Reddit can be brutal. Like one that stuck with me is like you can tell these guys put a lot of time and effort into their videos. It's a shame they're so fucking awful. I was just like, holy shit.
Unfortunately, it's like
Like
it is
looking
brutal.
back on it, it's like it's funny, like looking back at it, but when it hits, it's like, oh man, I put a lot of time into that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I completely get you.
yeah, but talk about like how I promote stuff. I also promote like channels over a million subs, and I've had people leave the same kind of feedback on like giant channels, like 2 million sub, like top fives, and they've said this like similar things, like, oh, this person, they like critique them like they're just starting out. I'm like, this channel is like super successful, like that's their full-time job. Like you can't.
Yeah,
I mean, you can give feedback, but you can't like. I mean, you're just a guy in your basement probably saying this stuff. You've never filmed anything, or written something like this, so
yeah,
I don't know. You can't take
Yeah.
it too serious. But man, you crush it for real. Like your longer videos, like that is. We struggle with long videos. I struggle. I mean, I'm the bottleneck. So I don't know.
Thanks, man. But no, you know, if you guys get to a point where you start, you know, making even longer videos, I mean, it'd be really cool. It takes a lot of effort and work, you know, to do what you're doing. So, you know, it's a hard commitment, man.
Yeah. So what else besides YouTube do you target? Like if YouTube just went under, like what other platforms are you active on? You're on Twitter. What else do you like focus
Yeah,
on?
so so Twitter, Facebook, Amino, which is in itself awesome, and that's pretty much the main three I'm on at the moment. I haven't really done much with Instagram yet, but I want to. I think there's a potential there to use, and Reddit. So how they all work together is, um, I used to write. I still do, but not as much. But I would write my own stories, my own horror narrations, and I would record them. That's how I started out on YouTube. But the and then you know it just became like I just liked what people had to say and got into reading them. So for me, if YouTube went, I'd probably just move into SoundCloud, wherever it's called, podcast. I mean, at the end of the day, what compares to YouTube in terms of the platform? I mean, at the moment, I mean, Daily Motion, whatever the other one's called, Vimeo, if you pay for it. But it's like, Spotify to maybe is an option as well. But, like, what I mean, it's not really that a lot that compares to YouTube at the moment.
Pornhub.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say it. I was like, you know what? I won't bring it up just in case it's not, something you guys are okay. But yes, Pornhub.
That's.
Doom, doom, doom.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about.
Pornography? I don't know about pornography. Well, why is the browser history cleared? Maybe the computer did an update.
Weird. Computers are weird.
I mean, Chrome, it updates all the time, man. Come on. Google.
Oh man.
I think Instagram would be a good one for all like the discovery on it, but still, everything's strange. I think realistically, looking at things as a podcast is the best way to do it because I mean, ultimately, what people really like about like long horror narrations is like they want a podcast type length, except like describe it in a better way. That's better done better. Do gooder, you guys.
Do gooder.
So, yeah. So, but we won't keep you any later. It's really late. I'm sorry. Well, it's really early for you. Thank you for spending your morning with us instead of watching Saturday morning cartoons. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. That was a tough judge, but no, I would always pick you over the Saturday morning cartoons.
We appreciate it, man. It's been a really good time. You're a super cool dude, man.
Right. Blake fell in love with you instantly. He's like, this dude, Australia, we need to go there.
I like this. I like where this is going. Let's do this for 3 hours.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for having me on.
No, definitely. And any time in the future, we'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we
That
come
sounds
from
cool.
a very small town, so it's really good to hear other people's viewpoint of the world instead of getting stuck in that whole like groupthink type of thing. So
Yeah, I like hearing it too.
Well, anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate you guys staying up with us. Do you have any final words? Anyone? Mr. Reality?
Look, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for all the support. Make sure you sub to Stay Strange, is it? And The Strangest?
yeah,
Yeah, we got the market. Everything's strange. Yeah,
Copyright the word.
exactly. And also be sure to subscribe to Mr. Reality, guys. Did we put in the description?
yeah, I think I actually have it this time. If I hit save on the things I was doing it at work today. Also, if you're somehow watching this long after and you're on like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, anything that's a podcasting platform, leave us a review. Even if you're not listening to it on that and you podcast, leave us a review on your podcasting platform because we're trying to get it out there, trying to extend the reach further. I mean, we don't edit it, so it's still like the live, just uncut, just post it out there. But definitely like, comment, subscribe to Mr. Reality. Let him know you came from us. You checked him out. You like his content. You heard his sexy voice, so you can definitely go to sleep to it tonight or wake up to it this morning if you're on the other side of the world. So smash that bell button and don't miss a upload. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my man.
yeah.
And everyone, have a good night. And as always, throw some prawns on the Barbie.
Yeah, prawns on the Barbie.
And also, stay strange. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, stay strange, you guys.